It's Fully Threaded Radio, episode 146.
There's 30% of them that are the smartest and 70% of them that I'm not sure how they get up. How do they know to come back to work on Monday morning?
And it's scary because I still go back and forth on technology. Is it making us dumber or smarter? I guess collectively they think it's smarter, but individually I think we know less about what we're doing.
They got Google. Now they can Google it.
It's time for Fully Threaded Radio.
It is Fully Threaded Radio, voice of the FCH Sourcing Network. If you buy, sell, manufacture, import, distribute industrial fasteners, basically if you have any kind of role whatsoever in the thread game, this is the podcast for you. We're glad you clicked in. Hi everybody, Eric Dudas here. The co-host of Fully Threaded Radio is with us as well. Lifetime honorary Texan, Brian Musker. Hey Brian, you doing all right?
No, I'm not. I hate the cold. Every time this year I rethink, what the hell am I doing in this frozen wasteland? It's like being north of the wall. I expect white walkers and whites to be walking up the street.
Well, take care of yourself, man. I tell you in solidarity with you, as I sit here, and this is true, I'm wearing my rabbit fur hat. And so it's nice and toasty here at the Fully Threaded East studios, but I know what you mean. Now, you're not catching a little touch of screwbola, are you? You sound a little stuffy today.
I've had it for a week. It's just terrible, bloody thing. So anyway, we'll be fine.
Okay, well, you take care of yourself because thousands of fastener inventory items are counting on you.
You're right. I'm mindful of that, okay?
As are the listeners of this podcast. We're so glad you clicked in, everybody. It's episode 146 of Fully Threaded Radio. This time we're publishing on November 21st, 2019. It's another full episode. We'll get things started with a conversation with Danielle Riggs. She's Director of International Trade Compliance at Würth North America. She's got a redux of a recent presentation she made down in Naples, Florida at the NFDA Executive Summit. And this is going to basically be a short lesson in what every fastener distributor should have a general knowledge of when it comes to trade compliance, importation, and related issues. During the feature segment on today's show, we're going to give a first whirl of something we're going to call Unthreaded, Bri, which is going to be a conversation that's a little less structured and less edited or produced than our typical feature. And we'll be joined by Tim Jackson, he of Action Fasteners.
You mean Action Jackson?
Yeah, Action right. Jackson of episode 140 fame, along with Joe Morrison. She's the voice, folks, of the Fastener Training Minute. You hear her every episode, along with Carmen Vertullo. On the Fastener News Report, industry anchorman Mike McNulty is joined by NFDA President Doug Ruggles as they dissect the latest Fastener Distributor Index numbers. A little bit of an anomaly forming there, Bri. We won't be a spoiler here, but kind of a head-scratcher going on right now with the FDI.
Yeah, it's been an anomaly for a while, actually.
Mostly in a good way, fortunately.
Yeah.
And, of course, the Fastener Training Minute is presented by Carmen Vertullo. This time he'll give you a little insight into what happens when you sit your butt down in the Fastener Training Week offered by the Fastener Training Institute. So lots of good stuff on the episode, and to go with it, many fine sponsors. Bri, shout them out.
Right. The title sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio are Stelfast and Brighton Best International. Stelfast, for service you deserve and people you trust. And Brighton Best International, tested, tried, and true. Also sponsoring Fully Threaded Radio are Buckeye Fasteners, BTM Manufacturing, Eurolink Fastener Supply Service, InSequel Software, ND Industries, Parker Fasteners, Volt Industrial Plastics, the Würth Group, and Solution Industries, home of Solution Man. So thanks to all of you. We wouldn't be able to spend as much time doing this. Eric wouldn't be able to, particularly. It wasn't for sponsors. So we thank all of you and encourage you listeners to make use of sponsors and their fasteners whenever you need them, okay? Think of them first.
It helps us all out, folks. And Brian, you are correct. The show is truly brought to the industry by the sponsors who support it. Thanks to them. And we like to hear what you think as well, folks. Reach out to us anytime. The email address is ftr@fullythreaded.com, or you can use Twitter where the handle's fullythreaded. As you were reading out those sponsors, Bri, I could tell I think your screwbola is not quite past you yet, so we're going to zip through some of our segments today, I think, in the interest of saving your voice. And I will tell you, I do have my rabbit fur hat here, and it's been laying around because I have been doing a little late-season muskie trolling. And I want to shout out to one of our sponsors, John Solution Man Riddell. Congratulations. He caught his lifetime best so far, muskie trolling out of the back of my boat. It was a 44-inch beast.
Oh,
He
nice.
was pretty darn happy, Bri.
I would think so. Yeah, good fish. Yep.
That's right. And I will point out also the kind of guy John is. We put that baby on the tape, and he was really thrilled, of course, when it hit 44. And, I looked at him. I said, "You absolutely sure about that?" And he looked me right in the eye, serious as could be. And he says, "That's like talking about certs, man. It's something you do not mess with." That's exactly what it was. And I looked down, and he wasn't kidding. So you deal with John, you're dealing with someone who gives it to you straight.
Right. This is in stark contrast to one of the guys years ago you and I used to meet fishing up in Canada who never ever caught a fish less than 50 inches, okay? I never saw him catch one more than 50 inches, but every single day he'd catch multiple 50-inch fish. Never 51, never 52, just 50. That was it.
It was amazing.
And even on days when the best fisherman, that was not including myself, never even saw one, okay?
There are many days when you're out there and you don't see anything.
Right.
Now, speaking of things that a lot of people don't see, did you check out the new terms of service of YouTube that were sailing all around the internet this month?
No, I did not actually.
Gee, I'm surprised.
I know, I'm really... Every now and again I make a half-hearted attempt to when you ever get a new upgrade to your Apple iPhone, there's usually a change of terms of service or to the music or something. And after when you realize it's like 14 pages long, it's sort of a problem. Okay.
Nobody ever reads that stuff.
No, we're meant to, but you're right. So presumably they're trying to find a legal way they can actually take all your information and sell it to someone else.
Right. Well, that's what's behind it. You're essentially giving up all rights to anything in particular, privacy, ownership, intellectual. I mean, that's just what's happening there. But I ask that question very facetiously because nobody reads that stuff. Anyway, it's just a sign of the times, though. The internet's changing. I was out there on YouTube and I noticed that interface every week or so. It seems like there's a new wrinkle, something new that's out there. And of course, I relate all that back to how we use the internet in general, being in the online fastener search business.
Well, I think it's a generational thing too, because I've been reading a lot about this application. It's apparently the teenagers all love it. It's called TikTok. And it's come out of China, and it's particularly being used in China to capture facial recognition information about people so they can feed it back to the government and track them as they, for people who haven't paid their bills and stuff like that. And so I was reminding the kid over the road, a 16-year-old kid, that he should be careful if he's using this TikTok. And his question was, why should I worry about that? Well, the idea that someone tracks him is irrelevant, apparently.
Well, they haven't perceived the full breadth of the social credit system yet, but it's coming. Now, having said that, with FCH Sourcing Network being really the Scroogle of the fastener world, I don't see us doing anything like that. So don't worry. You use FCH, Brian won't come knocking at your door, everybody.
No, that's true. But we would like to find a bit more information about our users. That's one of the things that we're sort of going to be making changes slightly to, because people ask us all the time, what is the real makeup of people using FCH, okay? We think what it is, but it'd be better for us if we knew much more, because there's a lot of fasteners that are not visible if you're doing a search in public, because they're from people like Stillfast and other master distributors who've directed that none of their items be shown in public.
Well, it's true. The trend is all the major platforms are doing everything they can to understand as much as possible about the traffic that's going through their sites, and we're following suit, of course. And as Joe Morris was heard at the top of the podcast today, the big question is technology making us smarter, or is it making us collectively smarter but individually less smart? And that leads to the question, what should the fastener industry be doing when it needs a fastener?
Well, that's the simplest answer you can possibly give. They just screwgle it.
Right. Yes, I set you up.
You did.
Very, very good. And that's going to be the setup for the rest of this episode, folks. Thanks again for joining us. We'll talk to you in mere moments. It's Fully Threaded.
Brian and Eric, they're online. Fastener Talk Radio Extremist. You're right on with Fully Threaded Radio.
At Brighton Best, we continue to expand our wide range of products, including stainless steel and metric fasteners. Our family of brands include Preferred, U.S. Anchor, and Ironclad Performance Wear. BBI has been a trusted partner since 1925. With award-winning hand tools, gloves, and drywall screws, BBI is the largest master distributor of fasteners in the USA. Tested, tried, and true. We are Brighton Best. To learn more about Brighton Best, visit brightonbest.com.
Need fasteners? Fully Threaded Radio listeners know that Stelfast offers over 12,000 fastener items direct from stock, including bolts, cap screws, nuts, screws, and washers in a variety of finishes. Per print, specials, and standards, Stelfast has been a global sourcing leader since 1972. As an ISO-certified supplier with facilities across North America and Asia, each member of the Stelfast team is dedicated to supporting fastener distributors with the highest quality products and service possible. That's why the motto remains, for service you deserve and people you trust, it's Stelfast.
My customer sent me a print for a bolt specifically for the machine in his shop, but we can't make it.
Solution Man can. Provide me with a print, and my superhuman CNC machining team will custom make it for you faster than a manufacturer's rep drinking at an open bar. Visit the Solution Industries website for details at solutionind.com.
Wow, that is fast.
So are you at the distributive social, huh?
SOLUTION, SOLUTION. Solution Industries. We are Solution.
Coming to you live from a much larger desk drawer, this is Jake Davis with BTM Manufacturing, and you are listening to my friends Brian and Eric on Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric, back with you, doing this thing that we do.
And loving it.
Yeah, it's not bad. Good work if you can get it.
Yeah.
Does have its side benefits too. Case in point, I was able to head down to Naples, Florida recently to attend the NFDA Executive Summit. Now, this took place actually in a very posh setting, and Bri, I was glad that this time the coin toss went in my favor.
Which coin toss was that? The one we didn't really have when you decided you were going to go there, okay? That coin toss.
Well, it goes back and forth. You know how we do these things, Bri. I mean, you've gone to some pretty cool places with the NFDA.
I did. I went to Costa Rica, actually. It was great.
Exactly. So you have been also a participant in their legendary Armada.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, folks, if you listen to episode 145, Tim Roberto did not appear in a Speedo. So I just want to get that out there right now. But it was a lot of fun. A lot of people attended the conference, and just overall, it was, as usual, an excellent NFDA event. I highly recommend it to anybody who's on the fence about attending these things because you always get something out of it.
Right.
But right here at the top of the show, I wanted to acknowledge the amazing gift to the industry that Link Magazine provided, which was a really beautiful thing. I think it's probably the most amazing finale to one of these conferences that I've personally attended, but also that I could imagine. And Leo and Team Link set everybody up on the final evening of the conference with an evening sunset cruise right there in the harbor and then the outlying area from Naples. And I tell you what, that is a sight to behold.
Yeah, it's a very, very pretty area, actually. Made even more pretty by the fact that it's not freezing.
Yes, no rabbit fur hats required down there, Bri, for sure.
Yeah.
And you can go out to the NFDA or the Link Magazine Twitter feeds, I'm sure, and see some of the photos that were taken out there on this dinner cruise. But it was, again, so much fun, and had a chance to sit down and talk with Leo. I don't talk to him at the Vegas show, or haven't seen him there last couple of years, so it was good to catch up with him in person. Of course, Tracy was there, the Aluminum Fasteners crew, and just can't say enough about it, and everybody had a good time.
So we should have had a toss, you think, then?
Well, what I said was I was glad that this time, it went my way, but next time's going to be next time, Bri.
Okay.
Maybe you should ask John Riddell to flip next time. As you know, we attend lots of fastener industry events. We're always traveling around to the various associations and shows. And we'll be heading together, Bri, to Charlotte, North Carolina, May 18th through the 20th, 2020, because that's when Fastener Fair USA rolls again. So you have that to look forward to, Bri.
Yes, I do, actually. There's been interesting commentaries about the placement, but I guess, it's a new place. I'm prepared to give it a go.
Well, I think a lot of people feel the same way. It remains to be seen whether or not this is going to be more regional or more national, as the Fastener Fair folks are hoping, but one way or another, we'll be there. And I think it's going to be a strong show, actually. And if nothing else, there hasn't been a show like this in that area for a while.
No. And we didn't really know what we were going to expect out of the Detroit show, and I loved that one, okay?
Yeah, so far both Fastener Fair USAs have been winners.
Yeah. And I like Cleveland, too. That was a great place for a show.
Now, I've got the website up on my screen here, Bri, fastenerfairusa.com. And they have one of these scrolling image screens up on the homepage there. And I noticed that on one of them, somehow it's an overview of the party that they had. I guess this one is in Detroit. And somehow I got in on that. There's like 100 people on this photo, and there I am. Let's see. There's Brian Wheeler. A bunch of people I know. I don't see you. Where were you? Did you even make it to this party? I
did.
Can't see you here, bro.
I did.
Oh, there you are, right in the middle. You have a yellow shirt on. Well, folks, this is a interesting thing unto itself. Go to fastenerfairusa.com and see who you can pick up. Maybe we should turn this into a game, Bri.
Okay.
We've been looking for a reason to hand out some U-Bolt blend coffee and some gloves from Brighton Best. A couple of our sponsors want to start handing out prizes through the podcast. Maybe we should put a contest together through this. I don't know. Let's think of something.
Okay.
There's Cameron.
Yeah, right.
Could be fun.
Well, I've only been to North Carolina once before. I drove there, actually, from Dallas, and it was a very interesting drive. The days before GPS. So it was a great, very, very pretty state. I remember the freeways as they sort of went through all the trees. It was very, very pretty.
Oh, was this a business trip?
No. It was, I think it was one of the times when I first came to America. I didn't really know anyone. And over Christmas time, I just took off and went for a drive somewhere. So, but it was, I remembered both North and South Carolina, actually. They were very, very pretty.
Stop at any good barbecues?
No, I'll tell you, what I did do is I was driving on all roads that were on my maps were grey roads, okay, so they weren't freeways, and I got lost in Tennessee, and I remember going into just a store, like a general store, little town, and I took my map out there, and I was trying to find someone how I got to the next place on the map, and no one could read the map in the store. It was a Ram McNally map, I remember that.
Well, you don't have to worry about any of that happening this time, Bri, because we'll be in a big city, Charlotte, North Carolina. It's a beautiful place. and I'm sure it's going to be a good show. I'm probably going to drive out there myself. I think I'll take our booth out there, just carry it out in the back of the truck rather than shipping it. It'll be a fun drive, and I do have GPS, therefore I should arrive in a relatively reasonable amount of time.
Right. See, these are things you totally forget about. Days when you actually had to drive from like Texas over to, somewhere in Georgia or somewhere with just working on maps.
While you're saying that, I noticed Mike McNulty down there too. He's on the Fastener Fair website, Bri. Well, there's a lot of folks on there. Who knows? This is going to be a good contest. Hey, everybody. It's Fully Threaded Radio, and we've got our opening segment ready for you. Why don't we play that? And Mike will be up on the other side.
Sounds like a plan.
Danielle Riggs is the Director of International Trade Compliance at Würth Industry of North America, otherwise known as WINA. She recently delivered a presentation at the NFDA event in Naples. We talked about that earlier in the podcast. The topic was trade compliance. She joins us now. Hi, Danielle. Thanks for joining us.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
Well, the NFDA could have picked a worse place to have the conference. What do you think?
Right. And the room was situated looking right out over the ocean. So you had that taunting sunshine and beautiful water waiting. Yeah, it was fantastic.
Right. And the various subjects that were presented during the sessions, I don't know. I guess we have a lot of focus and concentration in this industry, but it's a good thing they were half days. Let's just leave it there.
Especially when you start your morning with trade compliance, right?
Yes. Well, Team Vicky Lester knows what they're doing. They put a few of these together.
That's right.
So trade compliance was the topic of your presentation. And please expand on that just a little bit so folks understand exactly what that even means.
Yeah, so import and export, bringing into the country or sending out of the country. There are a whole bunch of rules, requirements for the people that are conducting that action that most folks don't really know that exist out there. So I have made my profession, after being a first grade school teacher, moved into the trade compliance arena and kind of took hold of that niche of the business that people really don't want to focus on, but they really have to.
I didn't know that was your background. I guess it would be appropriate for some people in the fastener industry. That makes a lot of sense.
It kind of works, right? First grade school teacher, trade compliance.
Yeah. Although looking at all the material you presented, it is quite complex. So there are obviously lots of people in the fastener industry who this is pertinent information to them. Please explain exactly why the typical fastener distributor should be concerned or at least knowledgeable about this topic generally.
Yeah, our government, I said this a little bit earlier, our government trusts us at the onset of an import activity to have read and be able to follow all of the rules that are out there. And those rules are thousands of pages of regulations and intricacies that can be really daunting and difficult to understand. They trust and they trust and they trust until that point where they come and they look. It might just be a regular audit or a check. It might be an investigation into something, but they come and they look over 5 years of history. And that's typically the moment that everyone says, oh my goodness, what do we do? How do we handle this? And that's why it's so important to know about import and export and the actual art behind trade compliance. So many importers that I work with say in response to any question that I might ask about an import, my broker does that or my supplier does that. And it's that outward facing kind of thought process that gets us into trouble sometimes when U.S. Customs believes that it should be our responsibility and our decision to have done or have declared or have taken action in any way in the import arena. That's a heavy burden to carry for them.
Right. I think you're right that a lot of distributors who do typically rely on importers and agents of various stripes to obtain their product, they do kind of think that that's how it works. And in actuality, there's more to it. They need to keep meticulous records. That's one thing that I took away from your presentation materials. That's a big thing that any distributor can do. What are some other things a typical distributor should be doing to make sure that they're on the ball here?
Well, first I have to say that totally warms my heart. You took away record keeping because that is the thing where the rubber meets the road for most of us when it comes to customs and people asking questions about our import. Something that I think people need to consider is that the statute of limitations is 5 years in these records, give or take some regulatory intricacies. So customs can come back and ask about something that happened 5 years ago from today, and that importer is required to be able to produce all the documentation and the full story of what happened there. And I know that that sounds really easy for the import that came in last week or maybe last month, but 5 years backwards, that's a scramble if you're not prepared for that. And so the warm my heart moment, that's the big part of this message that I wanted to carry through to folks.
And I think it's a real eye-opener for many distributors when they realize that there's such a thing as retroactive countervailing duties. I remember during the threaded rod snafu that happened a few years back, and here's me, a person who just glances at these kinds of headlines, and I was very shocked to see that some of the duties went back a couple of years and more, and yeah, that's just another reason that you should be on top of this.
That's right. Well, and threaded rod is prevalent again today as new anti-dumping duties and countervailing duties have just been issued on different types of materials. So the threaded rod that we all know was on carbon steel, that big 206% anti-dumping duty from China origin product, and it spans more countries today. Within the last month, this has gone into effect. So yeah, it can go backwards.
Tell us about preferential duty treatment programs and why they're important.
Well, everyone looks at this as like the free lunch, right? The jackpot. I get to import something duty free. Another important piece of my message that I think, well, at least it's kind of my little personal message, but I like to really know the details of what I'm doing. And sometimes importers, because it's not their line of business as a distributor, especially, right? I mean, we're focused on selling product outwardly. Free trade says, oh, perfect, I can bring this in free, except those thousands of pages of regulations I just mentioned before have some really stringent requirements for being able to use the free trade agreement. So NAFTA was a big one for us. NAFTA has a certificate of origin that we have to provide between the seller and the importer, right? So, okay, this one is out there. One that really trips up our industry, I think, is GSP, which is the Generalized System of Preferences. If folks really knew what it was in GSP that they had to do in order to be able to allow their broker to say, yep, this is duty free, they would be running for the hills. You would never declare it. It is the most intricate list of requirements. In the easiest way of saying it, your manufacturer of the product in, let's say, Thailand, would have to be able to show you their bill of material and every bit of their cost associated with that bill of material in order to prove the requirements for GSP. I'm not sure about your experiences, but when I go to the person who's selling me something and ask them to pull out their whole BOM and all of their costs, it's usually a pretty difficult conversation.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'm getting a slight headache just hearing about it. And I'm also scanning down your presentation materials and looking at the lists of the Trump tariffs, which is a related subject. And there's list 1 through list 4B. 4B, the only one of these lists that hasn't been implemented yet. I guess it becomes effective on December 15th, 2019. And it relates to what you were just describing because when the tariffs were first announced, we had these reserved commodities that were protected. And I think there was a lot of question, how did these commodities get selected? And then subsequently, how did they get included in the tariff list? And how does that all generally work?
Those tariffs have been the most fun discussion and the most excitement that I think a trade compliance team has ever had to deal with over the course of time, at least in my 16 years doing this. So there's 2 different types of tariffs out there right now, and we get really confused about what they are, why they were there, and then what is on the list. So I break them really into 2 different kind of lanes. There were the Section 232 tariffs, the first 2 lists, which were specifically targeted at bringing manufacturing back to the U.S. So making it more difficult to buy foreign raw materials is what I look at those as, or raw type materials than a typical fastener distributor would deal with. Then the list that came thereafter had a completely different purpose. Those Section 301 lists weren't meant to deal with bringing, that wasn't the target of them, to bring business back to the U.S. The target was to work on the intellectual property issues that our president sees with U.S. entities doing business in China. And those lists were so wildly varied from the time that they were issued to finalized. They've been incredibly difficult to monitor. The bonus is that as of this particular point in time, virtually everything is captured. There's a very small portion of Chinese origin products that are left off of those lists for importers, especially for us in the fastener world.
So that brings us to the ITC compliance manual, because fortunately there's one of those out there, and you actually call it the art of the ITC manual. Why is it an art? It seems pretty scientific, cut and dried, but what's the art portion of it, Danielle?
The art portion of it, well, it's A, how you construct it. B, understanding that you as the importer have to construct it. You can't just go buy the ready-made compliance manuals, put it on someone's desk and say, oh, I've got one, right? You're supposed to have the ability to use and implement it and prove that you're doing that. So we spent a great deal of time creating our own for Würth Industry companies here in the U.S., and it's an art form if you think about it. What policies, it's a regulation that you're interpreting, right? How far can someone interpret a regulation in one direction or another? So what is it that you want your policy to be? Can you get the folks that have to actually follow it to buy into it? And then can you prove that we're using it going forward? And that to me is a bit of an art form.
Now, is this manual available, or is this only something that's used inside of WINA?
So there are structures for import compliance manuals that you can go out online and buy. People offer them up, the bones of it. This beauty that you see here was the start of WINA trade compliance. This was our very first project, put the rules in place that we're going to follow. So this one that you see, the photo that I have is WINA, WINA's document. It works within our structure, our setup, and it's what our companies follow today. But there's a skeletal bones kind of compliance manual out there that you can buy online.
And where would people generally go to find information like that?
Google trade compliance manual. There's companies out there. There's also fantastic firms that you can hire, a third-party firm that you could hire that would do this kind of a thing for your company. Trade compliance consulting services will do this as well. So it's at the back of that presentation I provided, I gave a few of the ones that we use out there. Sandler and Travis is a big one. They have a trade advisory services group. We use Focus Business Solutions, also a small company out of the Detroit area, roughly. They have been a godsend for us in helping to establish a concrete program and keep it going. But no plugs meant to be taken there. They're just the companies that we've used and the ones that we're familiar with.
Got it. Okay, so folks, you can get with Jamie over at the NFDA and she'll shoot this presentation out to you. It does have some links in here. I've followed a couple of them. Personally, not my bag, but it's chock full of information. So Jamie's out.
Oh, come on now.
I'm just the host, Danielle. But Jamie at nfda-fastener.org, she'll take care of you. And so at the end of your presentation, you asked the audience, what is the takeaway from my presentation today before you go out onto the beach or, do battle with the sand traps? And what was the response to that question?
So this is the best prompt ever. Thanks for this. We never got to that slide. Question and answer session went way too long and they cut me off. But what I can say, I started with a similar question, and I asked, what do you think when you sit down for a 75-minute presentation on trade compliance? And I got things like Starbucks, the beach, everything but, right? And at the end, I actually take great joy in the fact that people were willing and excited to engage on the question and answer portion of this. We spent a lot of time talking about the Section 301 and the Section 232 tariffs, or as I lovingly refer to them as the Trump tariffs. Those lists are really confusing. And if you're not knowledgeable about them, suppliers can pull one over on you, charge you duties when you didn't need to have them, charge you those tariffs when you didn't need to have them. So people were really curious about that. We also had a really good talk about ISPM 15, which is the standard for wood packaging. our pallets and bracing and things like that, and how difficult it can be when a supplier isn't educated and your container shows up and U.S. Customs says, yeah, no, that's going right back where it came from. Your wood's not properly marked or treated. And so then I thought a little bit further as you mentioned this question just now and thought, well, maybe I can go on the what I hope everyone took away. You hit one earlier with record keeping, but if it was me saying, if you listen to nothing else I said today, this is what I would hope you listen to. If you're importing, know what you're doing, or hire someone that knows what they're doing, and it's not your broker. Your broker can be a partner, and you can hire them to provide those special services for you, but that's just not the standard brokerage agreement. It's something special. You are responsible for it 100% at the end of the day. If you're the importer of record. So that would have been my hope that people walked away with. The other one we talked about already, preferential duty treatment programs, free trade. It's not a free lunch. There is a lot more to it. Pay attention to that because you can get hooked on it. You can get in trouble with it. It's a part of an enforcement effort today. So make sure you know what you're doing with those agreements if you're using them. Saving money now doesn't mean you won't pay it later. There are people out there that are educated in this, not your cup of tea, but completely mine. I don't know how it happened. This is exciting for me. I like this stuff. There are people out there like us. This is what we do. We offer this service to people, and make sure you use them.
Well, the fastener industry is deeply indebted to people like you, along with the IT people who make these kinds of conversations possible in the background, right?
That's right. That's right.
And we had a little snafu there earlier, but we persevered with the help of IT. Well, Danielle Riggs, you take care of trade compliance for Würth Industry North America. You did a fantastic job down there at the NFDA conference. Fortunately for many of our listeners, their suppliers were in the audience, so they're passing your information out, and it's going to trickle across the industry. Thank you so much for joining us, Danielle.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Is Fully Threaded, folks. We'll be back in mere moments.
What can I get you, young fella? An ice-cold sarsaparilla? Something stronger like a beer from the tap? Maybe something even stronger like some blended whiskey.
Those sound like interesting choices, but I'll have an old rusty bolt.
You ain't from around here, are you, young fella?
No, sir. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland, Ohio? Every time we sold old Rusty Bolt, the fight would break out because we couldn't keep enough in stock. I don't want to have to keep fixing this place up.
But I've traveled a great distance, and I've had my taste buds set on an old Rusty Bolt.
I might have one tucked away in the bottom of the cooler. Yep, here it is.
Hey, he's got an old rusty bolt. Let's get him!
I warned you!
Old Rusty Bolt beer, causing civil unrest since the 1800s. The preceding message was brought to you by Buckeye Fasteners and the Ohio Nut and Bolt Company, proud Fastener Show sponsors of Old Rusty Bolt beer, official beer of the Traveling Salesman.
Harry, now that you use InSequel software, how do you like it?
InSequel has delivered. They truly are written for fastener distributors. It's affordable and their support staff is great.
We found InSequel's support staff has depth. They know our industry, and they certainly know their software. I see they've helped you pronounce InSequel.
Yes, but what does InSequel mean? Is it written in SQL? Is the data stored in SQL? Are they located in SQL?
InSequel uses the industry standard Microsoft SQL database, which is why it's so powerful and easy to use.
Oh, the database is stored in SQL. I don't even know where that is. I hear it's a nice place.
Harry, InSequel uses a SQL database because it's current technology and your data is completely accessible. No more expensive custom reports.
Is that why InSequel is so easy to use? Where is SQL on the map?
One of their many support members will help you answer that. Go to their website, www.inxsql.com, or call toll-free 877-446-9775.
Parker Fasteners is your premier cold heading manufacturer, forging the future with precision and quality as our top priority. When you think of domestically produced sockets and tamper-proof screws from alloy and stainless, including A286, think Parker Fasteners. Our lockout line of security fasteners feature high torque, oval center pin design, and unique lobes that provide one-of-a-kind security for your customers. Our in-house 3D printing capability makes the prototyping process fast and affordable, and we're ready to produce your large or small run orders with highly competitive pricing and unbeatable lead times. So, forge the future with Parker Fasteners. Visit Parker Fasteners online today at parkerfasteners.com.
This is Rosa, the preferred riveter at Brighton Best International. You're listening to Fully Threaded Radio with Eric and Brian.
Hey, Brian, looking at this Fastener Fair website some more during the break here, I'm talking to Paul Musgrove from EFC International on this rotating slide here.
Yeah.
He's showing me a photo on his smartphone.
Yeah, so it's fish, I can tell. Nothing to do with fasteners, I can guess.
That's what I was going to say.
Right.
Hey, everybody. Fully Threaded, we're back. And so it's the news segment. And I guess that's kind of news, our Fastener Fair photo contest, although we don't know what it's actually going to entail yet. Did you come up with any ideas over the break for how we should run that?
No, I did not, okay? Meant to have asked me that question beforehand.
Yeah, that was like 20 minutes ago. You probably forgot. You didn't take me seriously. I think we should get a contest together. I don't know. I don't really have any ideas. I've got some prizes. I've got a rough idea. We'll work on it. What do you think?
Yeah, well, based on this photo from the Detroit Fastener Fair, you could find, please point out the table that has the most drinks on it, and then find out it's Mike McNulty standing there, okay? They can't all be his, okay?
So Mike's coming up in a moment with all the headlines and the FDI coverage.
Right.
One thing that I don't think is included in his report today, the Pac West announced its 2019-2020 board of directors. So they've got some new officers at the top of that organization, Bri.
Okay, good. Who?
Well, as we know, Kevin Chavez has been the president, I think 3 years now. And so replacing him is Mr. Ron Stanley of Empire Bolt and Screw.
Ah, okay.
And working closely with him, the VP will be David Palmquist of Andy Industries.
Surrounded by FCH members.
It's a beautiful thing.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah, they've got a star-studded board of directors over at Pacific West Fastener Association, and it's a fine organization. We're going to have lots more details to cover on the next episode regarding the tabletop, which is happening, I believe, in March in Long Beach. They've got some really cool things that are going to be happening in concert with that event, Bri.
Good. I haven't been told yet, so you've been very good at keeping your secrets, clearly.
Just keeping the powder dry, Bri. We want to fire that off for maximum effect.
Okay, that's cool.
Now, I noticed that, speaking of star-studded, two of our fine sponsors are also platinum sponsors of Pacific West. Those are Andy Industries, aforementioned, and Brighton Best International, platinum sponsors of Pac West. And the title sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio are none other than Brighton Best International and Stelfast. And, of course, the Fastener News Report's brought to us today by Würth Industrial Plastics. Now, Mike McNulty is the editor-in-chief of Fastener Technology International magazine, and I got the October-November issue in the mail. Actually came a couple weeks ago, but I was glancing at it just the other day, and I tell you, man, this thing weighs like 7 pounds. It's the biggest issue I can remember.
I haven't finished reading it, I have to say.
This issue features the company profiles section, and this thing is just jammed with info. If you're anybody who does anything related to sales, or I have to imagine purchasing in the fastener industry, get your hands on Fastener Technology International. There's about 60 companies that are covered in depth, and if you're not one of them, you should get yourself in there as well. So it's a good resource and looks like a great place to advertise your company.
Yeah, it looks like they had some pretty good coverage of Vegas this time too.
Yeah, he expanded that out a little bit too. There were some photos in there that I hadn't seen elsewhere.
Yeah, you don't see Mike wandering around with his camera that often, I have to say.
Yeah, well, I don't think it was him. He's no Tracy Lumia when it comes to that, but he has his sources.
Right. He has sources. That's right. I have my means.
That's right. And we're going to be hearing from them in just a minute as we hear some news about screws that you can use.
It's the newly refocused Mike McNulty.
Thanks, Eric and Brian. This is Mike McNulty from Fastener Technology International Magazine, bringing you the Fastener News Report, which is sponsored by Würth Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners. Football in Ohio is heating up as the Cleveland Browns won for the first time at home, and the Ohio State football Buckeyes are still undefeated, but I am still focused on fasteners and ready to deliver today's Fastener News Report. In this episode, Doug Ruggles of Martin Fastening Solutions and the NFDA joins us to reveal the latest results of the Fastener Distributor Index, also known as the FDI. Also in today's broadcast, we have our top story on Bufab and American Bolt and Screw, as well as newsmaker headlines from several industry leaders, including Trimass, TFC, Sherricks, GL Hewitt, Brighton Best International, Spring Bolt Nut Manufacturing, Nylock, and Agrati. On the back page report, we're going to talk about two interesting words. We'll get to all of that and the latest FDI results right after this.
There's a reason Würth Industrial Plastics is an industry leader in plastic clip, clamp, and custom fastener manufacturing. With over 100 million parts in stock that can be shipped the same day, Würth has some of the fastest lead times in the industry. Würth can do color. We have the capability of molding over 120 different materials and can color match for specific applications. You need it? We can build it. At Würth, we have state-of-the-art technology to build prototypes to customer specs. And although some companies provide similar products, we offer customer service that's second to none, setting us apart from our competition. And now available, Würth's new light-duty cable clamps. With maximum diameters ranging from 3/16 to a ½ inch, these clamps are ideal for hard-to-reach spaces, electronics, and finish work. They prevent corrosion with metal tubing, and with plastic tubing, they won't bind or warp, preventing leaks while maintaining the flow of liquids. Würth Industrial Plastics, the finest, fastest plastic fasteners in the world. Visit us at WürthPlastics.com.
At Brighton Best, we continue to expand our wide range of products, including stainless steel and metric fasteners. Our family of brands include Preferred, US Anchor, and Ironclad Performance Wear. BBI has been a trusted partner since 1925. With award-winning hand tools, gloves, and drywall screws, BBI is the largest master distributor of fasteners in the USA. Tested, tried, and true. We are Brighton Best. To learn more about Brighton Best, visit brightonbest.com.
You're listening to Mike McNulty's Fastener News Report on Fully Threaded Radio.
The seasonally adjusted Fastener Distributor Index, also known as the FDI, for October was 52.1, decelerating versus the stronger and nearly identical results for September and August, which were 56.0 and 55.9 respectively. Fastener Distributor Index data is collected and analyzed by the FCH Sourcing Network, the National Fastener Distributors Association, and Baird. The FDI seeks to identify demand, pricing, and outlook trends within the American fastener distribution industry. To get some insight on these results, we talked to Doug Ruggles, CEO of Martin Fastening Solutions and current president of the NFDA. Hi, Doug. Thanks for joining us on the Fastener News Report.
Good morning. Glad to be with you.
Good to have you. So what do you think about the latest FDI results overall? 52.1, dropped a little.
Yeah, it's an interesting number when you look at that and the other coupled with the other information of the Purchasing Managers Index and the things that are going on, the larger view of the macroeconomics. And I think you got a lot of people that are trying to figure out what's coming next, even though overall their business seems fairly good, as ours is. Year over year, we're up. But you wonder, are people trying to just destock a little bit just in case things turn south?
Yeah, trying to hedge their bets, I guess, for the long term. That kind of ties into the flip side of we dropped to 52 from 56 range, but the forward-looking indicator was stable this time at 44.2, but it's the ninth sub 50 reading in the last 10 months. So that's 90% of the last 10 months, people are saying, looking forward, things are going to be worse or underwater. And is that what you're hearing as well, or does that just tie in with the hesitancy of people?
I think that the country as a whole, from a distribution standpoint and industrial manufacturing, which is what we mostly sell into, have all been looking for and trying to talk ourselves into a recession. And one of the stances and comments we have around here is we try to choose proactively not to participate in those. So I do think that there is a greater discussion and worry that is driving that. We see it from our manufacturers that are, some of them now coming into the fall or looking forward, and they're reading some of the numbers. When you see the Purchasing Managers Index right now is 48.3.
So below 50.
A year ago it was 57.5.
Yeah, that's a big drop.
And so there is definitely some decelerating that's happening, and until just in the last month, the PMI was over 50, which is still expanding, just at a lower pace. So I do think that there is some nervousness overall, but most of it doesn't seem to be founded in reality.
Right. Based in like the fear factor of what might go wrong.
Sure. The longevity of the expansion that we've been in, and I don't remember off the top of my head, but I know it's one of the longest expansions ever, if not the longest. And so the economists who aren't the feet on the street, just looking at numbers, say, well, it's got to happen soon.
Right.
So if you see it long enough, you'll be right.
That's right. It's definitely the longest ever. I think it's in the 10-year range. And, I've been to some economic presentations recently in the past few months where they're actually looking at data and looking at trends and tracking, and they're saying no recession right now, that it's just going to be slower growth. So I think your point about not based on reality is well taken. The 6-month outlook tempered from last month. Last month, we had 45% of respondents expecting worse activity down the road. This time it was only a third, or 33% of respondents expecting lower activity 6 months from now. So that's a little bit softening, a little bit less worried, I guess. 38% expect similar activity, and 20% are expecting higher activity, which is the highest result since the beginning of last summer, since May. So that's a good opposite of the forward-looking indicator.
Well, I think all summer, Mike, the discussions in the media as a whole have all been around the recession. And when it hasn't come to fruition, I think it's caused people to step back and look at it and say, well, maybe there's not a recession. But I do think that there is a level of destocking that has happened, which
cautionary
is driving that. They're getting their house in order just in case.
Right.
So it's one of those self-fulfilling prophecies if we all do that at the same time.
Yeah, you could end up with shortages and then slow people down by not delivering.
And then you look at the unemployment report, the number of people working, all of those have come back with surprisingly strong numbers in the last 2 weeks. So they're not lining up and supporting that, but is the negativity in the media and the circus that's going on in Washington and all of this macro news, I think, is certainly driving people to be very cautious.
Yeah, and where we're located, just looking on a small observation is, housing prices are still going up. Houses are selling very quickly here in Ohio, in the Midwest, and I just read a report about in Columbus, Ohio is the fastest growing city in the Midwest, and there's the prices that I see that they're getting for houses through the roof. I was in New York City over the last weekend, and I went through an area that I hadn't been in, Queens, that I hadn't been in 30 years, and the Uber driver told me that houses that were selling for two-family houses that were selling for $50,000 30 years ago are now selling for $1.5 million, and it was just just beautiful development going on there, and restaurants are packed and stores are packed.
Sure.
So that's
is this a great country or what?
That's right. Let's move on to the respondent commentary of people that filled out the survey. One respondent commented, October was a phenomenal month for us, at least partially due to increased capacity. We took full advantage of the 23 business days. Another person commented, the market seems steady, prices up from overseas, but pretty steady these days. And the last comment I have is our largest market sector is reporting growth to start in December and continue to the third quarter of 2020. So more good news on the comments.
And we are seeing that our October was, for us as a whole, our average daily sales were up slightly, even with one of our larger customers taking a pause on taking some days out of the manufacturing cycle. I do think that everybody is a little concerned about the holiday season from the fastener distributors. That typically is a very slow month, but the forecast into 2020 looks very good, and I think you'll see the PMI return and your FDI. Well, all of these will continue to rise. I would think. I'm not an economist, but that would be my thoughts on all those numbers.
Yeah, I think I agree with that, and I'd like to see the new North American trade agreement get ratified by Congress, but they seem to be occupied with other activities right now.
They have a few other things on their plate, but the USMCA would be good, I think, for everyone from what I've learned about it.
I agree. All right, good. Well, that's good insight and good information, and I think even though the numbers are decelerating, forward-looking, I think reality is saying some different things, so steady as she goes, it looks like.
That would be our stance. And choose not to participate when there's a downturn.
Yeah, right. That's a good way to look at it. Now, in closing, you want to tell us what's happening at Martin as well as anything new going on at the NFDA?
At Martin, we have been involved in a few acquisitions in the safety side of our business. We've closed our second one earlier in September, and then in October we announced for the corporation as a whole, selling a division that was in the door and hardware and security business. And a lot of that is we're trying to align our focus going forward with what is our core business. So getting those things lined up, investing more in the safety and the technical sides of our business, the industrial safety, integrated, and OEM components are the four legs of our stool. So we're excited about where we are, what we're doing, and how we're moving forward. My two brothers, partners, and each of us running different parts of the business, continue to be bullish on the future, short term and long term. From the NFDA, we just finished our executive summit down in Naples. We had a wonderful turnout and some fantastic speakers, a lot of learning and networking, which is one of the biggest values that comes out of NFDA meetings. We have some exciting programs lined up with the joint tabletop conference with the Pac West in March, and then our ESPS in Minnesota, which is in June, which is the Executive Sales Planning Summit, one of the largest turnout for distributors and for our manufacturer supplier partners.
Have you had that in Minnesota before?
You know, I'm not sure. I don't recall having one.
It doesn't sound like familiar to me, so that's a good idea to get into a new area.
Sure, and we're working on trying to do more joint conferences with the regional associations so that we can help to unify the Fastener Association as a whole, and not unify where everybody becomes one, but unify in what we do and the number of meetings, and trying to have bigger, better meetings and value for our customers, which our customers are our members.
Well, that's a good approach, and I've noticed that. I think you did one with it was like three associates, the MWFA and the Pac West and NFDA. So good to see that cooperation and get everybody on the same page and not conflict with each other.
I agree. It's amazing what we can do when we're not concerned about who gets the credit.
Right. Good. Well, thanks for joining us on the Fastener News Report to talk about the FDI as well as what's going on with your company, Martin, and the NFDA.
Certainly. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
That was Doug Ruggles, CEO of Martin Fastening Solutions and current president of the NFDA. The FDI number for October 2019 was 52.1 versus 56.0 the previous month. Visit FDIsurvey.com to participate in the process and get a detailed PDF copy of Baird's monthly analysis. Now for today's top story. Bufab in Sweden has acquired all outstanding shares of American Bolt and Screw, also known as ABS, a fastener distributor with $52 million in annual sales and several locations in the USA and Mexico. ABS is headquartered in Ontario, California, and has branch offices in Indiana, Georgia, Texas, Oregon, Arizona, and Baja, Mexico. ABS was founded in 1946 and since 1982 has been fully owned and run by its current president, Jim Hooper. Under his leadership, ABS expanded into a 96-employee supply chain partner with customers across many industries. Jorgen Rosengren, Bufab's president and CEO, said, quote, "This strategic expansion into the North American market further underlines our commitment to growth and to our Leadership 2020 strategy," end quote. Jim Hooper added, quote, "It will be business as usual with the same high ambition level, but now as part of a globally leading organization. I am pleased to continue as senior advisor to ABS, and together with the whole team at ABS, I look forward to cooperation with Bufab," end quote. Purchase price paid upon closing was $30 million in a cash-free, debt-free basis, with a further deferred purchase price of $30 million to be paid in installments in 2023 and 2024. There's also the chance for an additional operating profit performance-based payment in 2023. Next up, today's Fastener Newsmaker headlines. In acquisition, investment, and expansion news, TriMas made an agreement to sell its Lamans business to First Reserve, a private equity firm. TFC Industrial Components opened a new facility in Germany. Annixter International agreed to be acquired by Clayton, Dublier, and Rice in an all-cash transaction of $3.8 billion. Agrati Group entered the Japanese market by establishing Agrati Japan Limited. And Sherrick's Fastening Solutions has named Geo Hewitt a master distributor of Sherrick's blind rivet nut inserts and rivet nut installation tools. In personnel news, Brighton Best International announced that Linda Grohowski is the new brand manager of BBI Sayreville in New Jersey. TJ Rosengarth is the new CEO of Optimus, replacing Anessa Chaibi, who stepped down last month for personal reasons. Brandon Buttry is the new quality manager at Spring Bolt Nut Manufacturing. Birmingham Fastener and Supply promoted Josh Dickey to the receiving supervisor. And Ernest Machine has added Steve Tamura and Keely McNally to its sales team and Joey Fiskus to its marketing team. In award and contract news, Nylock was named a finalist in the 2020 PACE Awards for their new product NyShield. And Boomax in Sweden has received a large order for corrosion-resistant studs to be used on a Belgian wind farm. You can get details on all of these stories and more in Fastener Technology International magazine and the Fastener News Report newsletter, both available online at fastenertech.com. Finally, let's turn to the back page to talk about two interesting words. Regular listeners of the Fastener News Report and readers of Fastener Technology International magazine know that for the last 12 years I have often railed about the danger of overspending by the USA federal government, i.e. elected officials consistently acting like unhinged spendthrifts, engaging in perpetual deficit spending to the tune of nearly $1 trillion per year. This is a truly bipartisan vice that deserves the moniker spendthrift, which is an interesting word given that the second part, thrift, actually means something good, the quality of using money carefully. Another interesting and related compound word that is popular today due to the political behavior not only in the capital of the United States, but in every corner of society, is virtue signaling. This word is also interesting because the first part of it is positive, the second part neutral, but the compound word is certainly negative, as in the rush to proclaim one's own superiority and moral clarity, the signaler forgets about the key virtue of humility by embracing the opposing vice. These two interesting words, spendthrift and virtue signaling, are related in that they both could be fixed by regular doses of the virtue of temperance, which seems to be sorely missing from modern practitioners of politics with unlimited access to other people's money. This has been Mike McNulty of Fastener Technology International bringing you the Fastener News Report. Please send your news, pictures, comments, corrections, or complaints to me at mcnulty@fastenertech.com.
Up next, it's Tim Jackson and Joe Morris who help us get unthreaded. Find out what that means right after Carmen Vertullo's Fastener Training Minute. And don't worry, everyone, it's still Fully Threaded Radio. Thanks for listening.
Hey mates, Brian Muscat. Regardless of the required size, material or finish, Eurolink has the European resources to meet your demands for hard-to-find metric fasteners. We're the one-stop source for all of your metric needs, saving you time and money searching for these parts while fulfilling all of your requirements. How do we do it? Eurolink offers access to more than 100,000 quality C-class parts with the ability to solve your toughest metric fastener supply issues every time. Hard-to-find metric fasteners delivered. Just think of us as your heavy metal rock stars. To learn more about how we can rock your world or request a hassle-free quote online, visit eurolinkfss.com. That's eurolinkfss.com.
BTM Manufacturing is a domestic ISO 9001 manufacturer of threaded fasteners and bent wire products. From anchor bolts to studs to U-bolts, BTM is committed to making your per print special with the highest quality standards while meeting your on-time delivery schedule. Since BTM began in 1961, this family-owned business has remained focused on providing exceptional service to their customers. Centrally located in Kansas City, Missouri, BTM recently expanded into a 100,000 square foot facility, which allows for the production and manufacture of many projects simultaneously, both large and small quantity. BTM's website at btm-mfg.com allows you to submit custom quotes quickly and easily, and once you do, a BTM team member will contact you as soon as possible to discuss your needs. Are you ready to get started? BTM is. Visit www.btm-mfg.com today.
Hi, everybody. This is Carmen Vertullo with the Fastener Training Minute, coming to you from the Fastener Training Institute and AIM Testing Laboratory in beautiful downtown El Cajon, California. Well, some of you might know, especially if you listened to Joe Morris just a second ago, that the Fastener Training Institute has one of their infamous or famous, depending upon which side you're on, certified fastener specialist week-long training programs coming up in La Mirada, California, the first week of December 2019. And I hope you'll attend that class, but I wanted to tell you something about how we start off the program. On the first day of the class, after we introduce each other and the students and the instructors get to know each other a little bit, we give an introductory quiz. The quiz consists of a sheet of paper with 20 statements on it about fasteners. They're statements, not questions, and the answers are true, false, and don't know. And don't know means don't guess. So we ask the students to quickly fill this thing out and take a break. And when they come back, we go around the room and each student gets to pick a question and answer it, true, false, don't know. And then we argue about the answer. So some of those questions on that sheet, they look like this. For example, stainless steel is never magnetic. And if fastened to joint, the nut should be stronger than the bolt. ISO standards apply mostly to quality management systems. Metric fasteners require less torque than inch fasteners, and so on. Well, when we return, I'm going to pick one of those questions at random, and we're going to discuss it on the Fastener Training Minute. See you in a few.
Thanks, Carmen. This is Joe Morris with the Fastener Training Institute. Can you believe we are approaching the holidays and December already? I know it's such a busy time for everyone, and companies are starting to think about budgets and how they can be more profitable and productive in 2020. It's no secret that time and monetary investment for employee training is directly tied to profitability, growth, and employee retention. So with that said, let's talk about what December looks like at the Fastener Training Institute. First, during the week of December 2nd, our final Fastener Training Week for this year and the final one in California. Next year, we're going to be taking this week-long Certified Fastener Specialist training program on the road to Cleveland, Chicago, and Texas. So if you live on the West Coast and you're interested in becoming a Certified Fastener Specialist, now is the time. The class will be instructed by two of the most notable industry experts in the fastener world, Carmen Vertullo and Salim Brahimi. The week consists of 4 days of intense classroom instruction plus 1 day of plant tours. This year we will be touring B&B Specialties, the lab, R&D Fasteners, and ND Industries. We are still hosting our live monthly webinars, and for the second year, our December webinar is free. On December 20th at 11 a.m. Pacific, I will be joined once again by Carmen Vertullo and Salim Brahimi for an explanation and tour through the Industrial Fasteners Institute online technical resources that are available. Everybody should try and join this webinar. You will absolutely find value, and the IFI is a great resource for everyone in the industry. Lastly, I would like to remind you that sponsoring a webinar or a live class helps fund FTI's growth while providing a great platform for your company to promote the products that you sell. There's a lot in store at the Fastener Training Institute in 2020. Thanks to everyone for your support this year, and please visit our website at fastenertraining.org for a complete list of new classes for next year. Now, back to Carmen for our Fastener Training Minute.
Well, welcome back, everybody. This is Carmen Vertullo with the Fastener Training Minute, and we are going to discuss one of the questions on the Certified Fastener Specialist Program Introductory Quiz. So I'm going to spin the wheel and see which one comes up. Ding! Question number 8. Heat treating is used to change the chemical composition of fasteners. True, false, or don't know? Argue amongst yourselves, or if you're listening alone, argue with yourself for just a second, and I'll tell you the answer. Okay, the answer to heat treating is used to change the chemical composition of fasteners is false. Heat treating cannot change the chemistry of a metal. The chemistry of the metal is made when it comes out of the mill that made the metal. The metal gets all melted together in a ladle, it gets poured, and that's the chemistry forever for that particular metal or the fastener it's made from. That's one of the reasons why we can rely on the mill test report for the chemistry of a particular fastener. Next time, we'll discuss another question on the quiz, which is this question. Heat treating is used to change the physical properties of fasteners. So if you listen next time, you'll know what the next question is. Well, this has been Carmen Vertullo with the Fastener Training Minute. Hope to see you in La Mirada, California, the first week of December for the Certified Fastener Specialist Fastener Training Week. Thanks for listening.
This is Baron Yarborough with Spring Bolt and Nut Manufacturing, the best beard in the business. Sorry, Chris. And you're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
So often over the years on the podcast, putting it together, what happens is we put these interviews together and then we turn off the recorder and then the real conversation starts. I mean, it happens all the time. So you just would have heard the Fastener Training Minute, and the voice of the Fastener Training Minute, of course, is Carmen Vertullo, but for the Fastener Training Institute, it's Jo Morris. Regular listeners hear her almost every episode. She is one of these people who we wind up having these great conversations all the time, and I invited her to sit in for something that we're going to call Unthreaded. That's what we'll call it. Jo, what do you think?
I love it. I love it. I know we've been talking about this for years, that we become chatty Cathys, and our conversations expand after we record our segments.
It's crazy.
It is.
So, yeah, some of the best stuff. And I mean, Brian and I think one of the ones that was really memorable was, I think the first time we ever had Charlie Kerr on the podcast. Oh my God, some of the stuff. And that, of course, the segment itself was really good, but man, we turned off the recorder and yeah, it really started to flow.
This is a great idea. I love it. Industry experts are people that have something to say, and just chat with them.
Well, the podcasting world right now, as most of us know, it's it's taken off. There's all kinds of formats. Fully Threaded has been, well, our moniker is predominantly fastener related, but we stick to business mostly, and we've veered here and there over the years. We try and throw in a little bit of variety, but it's pretty business oriented, wouldn't you say?
I absolutely would. Yeah, it's quality, insightful. Always listen to learn new things. That's a good description of it.
Yeah, well, don't lay it on too thick, Joe, but thank you for that.
No, I think so. I do. I listen regularly.
Well, thank you, and it's great to have had your participation for so long, and also the participation of so many people in the industry. But getting back to this whole unthreaded segment idea, it was really something that I guess just evolved naturally. We said, well, what if we set it up with the premise that this was really after the recording had stopped? So in keeping with that idea, we thought, well, geez, who could we also invite on here? And if you listen back on episode 140, which I know, Joe, you have heard that one, we had Tim Jackson, otherwise known as Action Jackson, from Action Fastener out there in Spokane, Washington. We had a great time with him when he was on the podcast. He's got a very interesting story, an excellent conversationalist, and I believe that, Tim, you are on the line with us as well.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Action Jackson.
There he is.
I think on my gravestone, I'm going to have that Action Jackson lived here.
Why not?
It was a very good and spirited segment, episode 140, when we had you the first time. But really, again, when we turned off the recorder, that's when the real action started. How did you get that name again? Refresh everyone's memory.
Oh, when I first started in sales, I didn't know anything. And I started in Seattle, and I ran around, and it didn't take long to realize that all I had to do was out-hustle all the other guys because I didn't know anything about fasteners, and I started selling more than most. And some guy called me Action Jackson, and it just stuck. So every time I go to a show, I'm getting Action Jackson. Matter of fact, the boss I have now looked at me and said, "Why do they call you Action Jackson?" I said, "It's a long story." But most people know me as, I just out-hustled the other people. So not that big a deal.
I think that's a huge deal.
Yeah. I live with it. It's cool.
He's modest. So the whole story, of course, is out on episode 140. We won't recap the whole thing, but basically you started a successful fastener business and you recently sold it. That's why you have a boss now, because that's not really your thing. But I also think there's a little bit of a play on your military background with the Action Jackson too, right, Tim?
A little bit. 3 years in the Army. My best friend in the Army, I could coerce him with a half a bottle of whiskey to come work for me. I think the story goes, I invited him over on New Year's Eve, and I said, "Hey, you should be part of my company." And I went into this long speech. He goes, after about 5 or 6 drinks, he goes, "I'm in." So he says, I said, "You want to see the company?" He said, "Yeah." So he started putting on his jacket. I said, "No, it's downstairs." He said, "Really?" And I went downstairs in my garage, and there was 2 pieces of plywood on 4 sawhorses. I said, "Here we are." He said, "Are you serious?" I said, "Oh, I am dead serious." And away we went, Didn't even have a building. We just sold out of our house. And 25 years later, I have a 10,000 square foot warehouse and sold the company last year. Like you said earlier, I have a boss now, which is, boy, that's about a shock to the system. When I want something now, I don't just, I can't play Action Jackson. I have to just call up and say, "Hey, what do you think of this?" And, it's very humbling. But it's made me learn to serve someone, so that's awesome.
What happened to the Army buddy? He's not the new boss, is he?
Oh, he's still here. He's down in the Portland area. We're going to put another branch in Portland probably next year.
So he still has a significant role in the company.
Yeah, he still drives me crazy daily.
All right. It sounds like he's doing his job. Now,
Yes.
Joe, in addition to being really the person who makes it all happen over at the Fastener Training Institute behind the scenes, and you're the voice of the Fastener Training Institute, you also crack the whip on John Walkman at Desert Distribution.
That's right.
That's your day job, right?
My day gig is a manufacturer's rep. I work for John Walkman for the second time in my life, and I love that. And we rep some great manufacturers: ABK, ND, Elgin, Lindstrom, Stelfast. So I'm blessed. I get to live with some of the best manufacturers in our industry and talk to all of the customers for our fastener training as well. It's a great blend. So that's my day job and my background job. And the fastener training is the lucky job because I get to sit in on all the all of the webinars. I get to be a free participant, and I learn something in absolutely all of them. So I truly have the best job around.
Yeah, so in your day job and with the FTI, you're picking up a lot by osmosis, really. And we've got on this conversation a whole breadth of fastener experience to share. And we could probably kill a couple hours. But Tim, last time we were supposed to cross paths. Of course, we keep meeting at these Pat West events, but last time we were supposed to meet was at the Vegas show, and we were never really connected. So what happened with that?
I ended up taking the owners of the company down there to show them what the trade was like and what a fastener show and why we go and why we send everybody down and what information they can get. It was, you're not the only one. I probably had 20 or 30 people wanting to stop by, but, I was a little stressed that, I had 3 guys following me and they're taking my lead and everybody wants to talk about fishing and Carmen. And I'm like, no, we're here to talk about business. So it was a good show. It was good. The nice thing about the shows again is we go down there and we can see all of our major vendors in one room, have 15, 20 minutes of in-depth conversation and put together some programs. So I think it went well this year.
So these guys bought your company and they'd never been to a fastener show before. Is that right?
They were a customer of mine. They were a 20-year customer. They were my biggest customer and the best customer, actually. I'm not just saying that because they own the company. They're top-notch people, and they pay their bills. Never had any issues with them. Matter of fact, the last 10 years of dealing with them, the ownership would call me and say, "Listen, we don't even take bids from other companies. Fastenal came in and did the song and dance. We'll fly you back to wherever it was in the jet, and we'll take you out to dinner." They're like, "We're fine." As these guys say it, they have a manufacturing business. It's probably it's in the over 100 million, I would say, overall in this one area I sold, and they didn't have a shutdown or a fastener problem for 16 years. So that had its weight in gold, right?
Wow.
So they had no experience in fastener distribution, and this was just a way to grow their business, kind of expand?
Yeah, my son was going to take over the company.
Your company?
My company. And he decided to go back and get his PhD in physics. And so when he left, they called me right away and said, "Hey, we heard that your son's not taking over, and we want to buy your company and make you a part of the Travis Pattern legacy," or I wouldn't say the umbrella. And they have between 17 and 25 companies that we can currently sell to right now. And they said, we'll have one of our guys from the corporate come in, and the son of one of the owners is coming in to work under me and learn the industry. And no, they didn't know anything except they knew me, and they gave me a 5-year contract, one-way contract. I'm not obligated to stay another day. It works out well for both of us, and it's been a good marriage, really good.
So these guys followed you around the Vegas show for the whole time, and what was their takeaway? That's kind of probably, I'm holding my breath because they got into something they didn't know. But you don't talk to that many people who really are that committed to the industry and really see it in that form for the first time.
I think they were overwhelmed. I tried to explain to them that within the fastener industry, there's so many segments, right? There's automotive, there's aerospace, there's guys that sell the components, there's guys that sell the widgets and gadgets and gadgets, and then there's the guys that we sell a lot of non-ferrous product and American made. So when they were going through, they kept looking like, "We're not going to see this booth." I said, "No, we don't do that kind of stuff." And so of the, I don't know how many booths are there, we probably only had 10 that were really for us. And they did a lot of handshaking. Matter of fact, they're so excited about learning the industry. They have their own plane. They fly over to Portland and California for different parts of their companies. And they've set up meetings with Stelfast. They've set up meetings with Star. They've set up meetings with other companies that we deal with, and they go in and see them without me, just to get an education and to let them know that they're solid and they want to work with them. Class act.
It's pretty cool. You don't hear about a lot of private jets in the fastener industry.
Not anymore, huh? There used to be.
Yeah, well, that's when I showed up to the airport. They said, "Show up to the airport, AIS." I said, "What's that?" Ass and seat. What time? 7:30. I said, "All right." And I showed up, and you're used to going to Southwest and check your bags, wait for an hour. I pulled up. We parked our car. The guy pulled the jet out. We jumped in and we took off. And I said, "Now this is the way to fly."
See, you're ending on a very high note.
Yeah, we're at 45,000 feet flying at 501 miles an hour and 70-some degrees, minus 70 degrees outside. And it's like you're sitting in your living room.
Wow, very cool. And I think that's neat that their involvement, their investment to learn.
Yes.
Did you take them to any of the parties?
No. No.
What?
No. Well,
so they really didn't get the full feel of it then.
Yeah, because that's truly part of Vegas. It's not, when you mentioned everyone wants to talk about fishing and hunting, that's part of the gig. That's part of the experience is
well, we did our own
contact and relationship building, the fun stuff.
Yeah, we didn't do it this time. Which one do you take them to? And then we did some things together. We went out and played a lot of craps together, and I got to give them credit. They're my boss is the first one that's ever completely told me and showed me how to play crap. So I've made it now. I'm somebody. I can actually follow the crap game.
Well, I've had some bosses tell me I was full of crap, but never anything like that. Well, a sitter would have been, you would take them right over to the BBI party because that thing started right after the first big day. And I mean, they had a great spread. Brighton these days is really putting on a great after party on that first main day of the show. And, that's always a good one. I would have definitely thought about going to that one.
Yeah, I didn't. No. This one, it was, I thought I'd break them in easy, right? Next year, we'll go to all the parties.
Well, you can't miss it. That's part of the fun. Cambridge does a great one. Beacon does a great one. The work goes, and there was a lot of socializing on the show this year. I thought more than it's every year, but a lot of people had the Bloody Mary bars. It was a lot of entertaining on the show floor, more than I already remember.
Yeah, the beverages were flowing freely out there this year.
They were. I liked BTM had coffee. And I really, I not that I'm a nerd, but that was the only booth that I saw that wasn't serving. If they were serving refreshments, they were all alcoholic.
Yeah, well, come on, Joe. No, the Fully Threaded, we're huge advocates of BTM's U-Bolt blend coffee. That's for
sure. It's a great coffee. I love it. That was one of our gifts for our scholarship. One of our gifts.
Yes, Jake came through for the scholarship entrance, and then right across the aisle this year was a Buckeye with Old Rusty Bolt beer.
I think it all should be outlawed.
Huh?
Listen, last time we stopped at a booth, I had my purchasing agent down there, and he stopped at the Sequel booth. We looked at a computer system. He sits down. I don't know that they have a tap on hand, so we leave for an hour. We come back. He's like, "I bought the system." I said, "What? The hell are you talking about? You bought a system?" He goes, "This is the greatest system in the world." And I looked at him and I said, "Rob, what's up?" He goes, "Nothing. Hell, that shit, they fed him like 3 tall beers. He signed and bought a $40,000 system." I said,
"So is that really the system you have?"
"Yeah, you are never allowed to go to the show again and have alcohol." But it was a good move. They, best computer system we've had so far.
See?
Yeah, I was going to say in that case, everything worked out well because you got a great ERP platform and 3 free beers. So
right.
Bob Reynolds knows how to do it. He's no fool.
Oh yeah, he had it going, and they were just and I catch him. I look back later and I realized every time he set one down, somebody was handing him another one.
Right.
Here you go, Rob. What do you think of this? Oh, that's great. Show me more.
Yeah, that's old school. That's definitely old school. Joe, you mentioned Beacon Party. Years ago, I went to the V-Bar, but I think that place is long gone, or maybe that was at a different venue. Where did they have the party this year? Do you know?
I do. So it was right there. I'm not going to remember the name of it. It was at one of the restaurants, and they took over the restaurant right there in Mandalay Bay, right? So let's see. Cambridge was at Eye Candy, right? Beacon was not the steak place. It was one of the restaurants right there, but it was fun. They did a great job. Appetizers, cocktails, great people. I mean, they invite everybody, so it was fun. I enjoy the after parties because I don't like to drink when I'm on the show. When I'm on the floor, I limit it. So I might have some champagne at the Hall of Fame ceremony, but when the show is over, I like to go kind of have fun with everybody immediately after. So it was great. It was fun. Recommend it.
I think I'm getting cheated here because I don't get any of these invites.
Well, you have to. Do you buy from Beacon or Cambridge?
Oh yeah, we buy from Beacon. Yeah. Oh yeah, we buy. I wonder if the purchasing agent gets it and he doesn't tell us.
Maybe.
I know we get invited to Stars party every year, and that's a wing ding.
Well,
what?
And that's the big party ticket right there. I haven't been in years, and Eric has never been there. Right?
I think we should take you, Eric, next year with us.
No, you should take Joe Morris with you next year.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to talk to Bruce today, and I'll talk about taking Joe and Eric as my guest.
I don't know if I ever I figured one day I'd make it into the star party, but I never figured it would have to be under these circumstances.
I'll tell him we're going to do a live podcast during the dinner.
Oh, then he's going to shut you out.
He probably would.
Why?
He wants to keep it secret to keep the value up.
No. Hell, it's not secret. There's 500 people there.
Is it really that big?
I'm just throwing that out there. It's got to be 200 if it's one. I mean, there's
the Star Legendary Party. I mean, everybody really, when you hit that party, you really hit the big time. So, were you there this year?
This is the only year I haven't made it in a long time. I had too much going on with the bosses. We were seeing other people. They only stayed one night, so it was a quick in and out for us. But I was there last year and the year before, and it's top notch.
It is.
And you feel loved there. You know, they go all out to make you feel warm and comfortable. You walk in, there's waiters passing out champagne, drinks, hors d'oeuvres. You're eating stuff that you're so full by the time the dinner comes. The dinner's spectacular. I don't know how they can serve all those. They served steak last year, and every steak was perfect, and they all came out in groves of 10. I mean, and it seemed like everybody was fed within an hour. I'm like, that was out of this world.
Now, is it assigned seating, or can you sit where you want, or is it sectioned off by where how does that work?
From what I understand, for us, it's so the branch manager to the branch that sells to you, which is for us at Seattle, it was always Dougie. And then, so you say you're with Doug Grover, and he has like 3 tables. He'll have 30 or 40 people there, and every branch has got 30 or 40 people at each one. And you'll sit with, we sat with Tacoma Screw one year. We sat with Fasteners Inc. We've sat with Pacific Fasteners out of Seattle, and it's all good conversation. You know, we don't talk a lot of business, which I thought would be awkward at first. I said, I don't want to be sitting with my competitors, but hell, they're just like me. They're just there to be wine and dine and appreciated. And we don't get into pissing matches or nothing. It's all good.
Well, it's probably kind of nice at the show to take a break from talking business. It's truly just meant to be fun.
Absolutely.
I can't imagine you having any trouble with that, Tim. I remember the first time I actually met you in person, we talked on the phone, or more accurately, you dodged me trying to talk to you on the phone for years.
That's right.
And then we finally encountered.
Go away, man.
Yeah, well, we finally encountered each other face to face at a Pac West event, and I mean, you talked my ear off.
Well, it's funny. Now you brought back a memory. So when I first got a hold of you, I called accidentally. I should have never called because you're like a damn shark. You would not let go. You saw the blood in the water. You came after me. Hey, you got to join FCH. I'm like, I can't do FCH. And so finally, you kept calling and calling. Finally, I called you back. I said, hey, how's it going, Eric? You're not going to stop till I talk to you. And rightfully, thank God you did, because when we went to this new computer system, you scrubbed our numbers, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
That was worth its weight in gold. You probably saved me 2 months of work. I know when you told me the bill, I looked at it, I said, are you serious? It's that much money to scrub numbers? And you go, yes. And I'm thinking to myself, I think he's crazy as hell. We're not going to spend that much money for someone to run it through a computer system. And I brought it to my round table, and everybody looked at me and said, "Do you know how much time that will take us to do that?" And I said, "What, a week?" He said, "No, a couple months." I said, "Eric, we'll take that.
Bingo.
It's a good price."
It's a great price.
Had you known what it saved us, you'd have doubled it, and we still would have paid it.
Oh, yeah, well, the thing is, Tim, these things go for like $1 a line up to $1.50 a line if you're going to do traditional conversion methods.
Yep.
And we're starting at like 35 cents. So
it's a steal.
Yeah, well, we already know kind of where we're at in the market, and it's really just getting the word out. So thanks for even bringing it up. I didn't intentionally steer us into this, but as long as we're there.
I forgot to talk about that last time because that was we're getting to come out with a website, and to get that put into the system for the website, it literally saved us a couple months, if not 3 months of time. We just talked about it this last Wednesday at our roundtable that had we not used you, we would still be scrubbing numbers.
Good to hear.
So back to the Star Party.
Yeah.
So one thing that's really nice about it is you get to meet a lot of different people from different industries or different companies, right? All over the country. That's one of the cool things for me. And you talk small business. Hey, how much do you do? Who do you buy from? How's it going? And Star does a good job for us.
Now, I get the impression that neither of you who have been to the party multiple times, unlike me, have not really closely paid attention to the music that was playing. And that's completely understandable because you're engrossed in effervescent conversations that are happening, meaningful, business related and otherwise. But in the background, I don't know if you know, Bruce Wheeler, the great Gatsby of the fastener industry in this case, puts so much time and careful planning into developing that music for that party every year. It's really amazing.
I did not know that.
Oh,
When you mentioned that, I was a little embarrassed. But I mean, see, that just goes to show that this is where they choose to spend their money to thank their customers, and I think those details are huge. Even though I didn't notice it, and it doesn't sound like Tim did, but I haven't been in years, so I think that just says a lot about Star and how important this event is for them. But I would see now. I really want to go to the party so I can hear the music.
From what I know, the music it's classic. It sounds terrible, but by the time it's time for dinner, you've been out there for 2 hours. It's about 8 or 9 at night. I think most of us are like, "Hey, pull the rope down so we can sit at the tables and eat." But the people that are getting into the music now, it's good music. I was too far away and really didn't get into it. So, but it's class. Everything they do is top class.
I think he told me that the percussionist he brought in from the guy who tours with Santana.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, and then some of the other musicians are from professional symphony orchestras. And he puts this group together, and then he and his wife, actually, she's a big part in it as well, and they select each piece, and it builds, and the whole theme, at first it's cocktail music, and then he does some wild stuff, and by the end of the night, he's playing some like a Muzak version of Zeppelin or Metallica and stuff, and he's got it all blended in there, and you don't even notice it. It's just it's awesome.
That's right. I think they did a Zeppelin, and I don't know if it was an AC/DC or a Zeppelin or something. I'm like, oh, I know what that is. Yeah, it's pretty good. Now I'm gonna call him today and find out. You need to pass a paper out and tell us who's up there playing, because hell, I couldn't see that from where I was standing. They didn't have a shirt that said, "Hey, we're professional musicians.
We're the band."
we toured with Zeppelin and whoever." He's got to give out a little sign or something for us, a paper for us to read.
I guess that's about as close as we're getting in the fastener industry these days of having any kind of like a real sort of a mainline talent show up. A lot of different industries, they have name bands come or VIP speakers to address a keynote and stuff like that. And we really don't have that in the industry. It's a smaller industry from that standpoint, but people talk about that from time to time.
Yeah, if you've been to STAFTA, they've got some crazy. I saw Charlie Daniels and DeWalt was putting it on, and we walked by. It was in Opryland. It said Charlie Daniels and the signs free concert. I'm thinking, shit, it's not really Charlie Daniels. It's probably somebody playing Charlie Daniels. I said, Scott, let's go in here and get a drink. And they had, that's before DeWalt was DeWalt. They had a spread. It was out of this world. Every food, every drink, everything. Lobster, fish, steak. We walked up and there was about 200 seats open, probably 50 people in them. And we were sitting 10 feet from, and Charlie Daniels walks out. I said, shit, that's Charlie Daniels. He goes, hey, big guy. I said, hey. We were talking like we were buddies. And he played for 2 hours for us. It was crazy.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've never heard of, because you're right, Eric. That's the Star Party is the closest to like professional musicians, other than what you just said, Tim. That's very cool.
Oh yeah, it's out of this world.
Well, who would foot the bill for that, though?
DeWalt.
That's the thing.
Right? Oh no, if we did it, I know our industry is not going to spend the money on that, or even our associations probably not, because that would have been DeWalt then, right, Tim?
Yes, it was DeWalt back when they just bought Black & Decker, I think.
But that's got to
So
still
they were
be
trying.
money to bring in Charlie Daniels. I can't see any of our in the industrial fastener world. I can't see any of us putting the bill for that.
Let's push BBI to bring in a
big
rock
name.
and roll band.
Yeah.
Yeah, heck yeah. Well, while you're in Vegas, heck, how hard is it to find a has-been? There's got to be somebody around there looking for a job for a night.
Yeah, really. I mean, they're playing off the strip at this
Right.
point. I mean, there's so many of them.
Sure. Bring in the Blue Man Group.
No,
No?
I'm not a big fan of the Blue Man Group. I don't know if that would be much of a draw. Do you think?
I was the first 6 times.
Are they still at it?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's not the same show, but it's damn close. Once you see the Blue Man Group, it's the Blue Man Group.
Well, maybe we should invent our own. We'll call it the Screwman Group.
Well, Eric, didn't you want to come up with a band one time? A fastener people?
What?
Actually,
did.
no, I thought that would be great. We come up with an open jam theme, and somebody, of course, would have to drive it and MC it, and, you'd have to have like a core rhythm section. There's just a lot of planning and setting up to do for that for basically no benefit.
Well, and there's how much talent is really out there within the fastener industry of musicians. I don't know. Maybe there is.
Oh, there's a ton,
Really?
Joe. You'd be surprised. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
there's
yeah.
there's a lot of players out there.
I hired a whole band here, and I'm not exaggerating. I hired a guy that was working in the warehouse for me, and great big fella and good kid. And he come in, he goes, "Hey, I got another guy that's looking for a job." And we were dying for people, so I hired him, and I hired his other friend. Turns out they were all in a rock band together. They toured in an old van, and they sang that I don't even know what to call it, that heavy rock where there's gravel stuff.
Death metal.
I called it devil music. They're like, why do you call it that? Because every movie when we were kids, it sounded like that. That was Satan talk, right?
Yeah, now it's mainline.
Yeah, and now you heard that, you got scared shitless. You're like, oh my God, did you hear that? And they're like, yeah. And I asked one day, what the hell are you saying? Oh, we understand it. Really? I guess I'm old. I guess I didn't understand a damn word he said up there.
Well, there are a lot of players in the fastener industry, and as a matter of fact, Joe, it just occurred to me, Kurt Triptow from Branham, actually, no, they're Endries now, but he just put out a call across the NCFA to do something similar to this, although I don't know that he had a show in mind that anything would materialize for, but he was going to do something like that. I don't know how that's proceeding, but a lot of musicians.
Well, that could be fun.
Matter of fact, Bruce Wheeler is a guitar player.
Really?
Yes.
No way.
Yeah, he plays acoustic guitar. I know that. I've never heard him play, but I know I invited him to do some fishing and drink some whiskey and play some guitar one time, but he didn't take me up. Not sure why.
I know he's a big hunter.
Yes. Yep. Maybe you should have gone hunting instead, Eric.
I don't know if I'd be able to keep up. He's in a different league when it comes to that, but let's see. Also, the Solution Industries guys, they have a band. Laura Vath's sons.
Oh, that's right.
They jam.
Yeah. Yep. And I think they performed in Vegas for us one night at the Bourbon Room, right?
At maybe there too, but at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when Fastener Fair USA kicked off.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Laura was in her element. It's got to be pretty exciting playing in a venue like that.
That was a cool venue, though. That, and I do remember that. I remember that band. You're right.
So, having said all that, we're obviously all interested in music to some level, but when you're at the Star Party, music is not at the forefront. So, we'll move on. We talked about fishing there a little bit, though, and you talked about fishing apparently at the Vegas show, and I heard that you had Carmen Vertullo over at your place fishing. How did that happen?
Well, Carmen came up to give us some advice and help us through some situations, and hired him for a couple days. And instead of putting him up at a hotel, I said, "Hey, just stay with us." And he's like, "No, I don't want to do that." I said, "No, I insist." And my fiance, Susie Rogers, she's a great host and giggles and laughs, and she just great to talk to. And he came up and stayed with us for 3 days, and we took him out to some really nice dinners. We had one day where we had a little bit of time, and I said, "Hey, stay an extra day, and we'll get you home on Sunday." And we took him fishing out of my boat on the little lake here, and oh, what a good time! So he shows up, Carmen shows up in khaki pants and a nice button-down shirt. I said, "What in the hell are you wearing?" He goes, "Well, that's all I got." I said, "No." So I gave him an Action Fastener shirt and a hat. I said, "Wear this, take that off." Bought him a cigar. He's out there, and in the first 5 minutes, he catches about a 4-pound trout, and an eagle swoops down and catches a fish right in front of me. He said, "This is it." I said, "What?" He said, "This is the life." I said, "Oh, yeah, it's a good one, But had a great time with him. Took him out to dinner. He snuck and paid the bill on me, and I almost killed him. I said, "Don't ever do that again to me." Because the waitress knew me there, and she said, "He already paid." I said, "Oh, it's Carmen, you're in trouble." But had a great time with Carmen. He's such a down-to-earth guy. We sat out on my deck overlooking the valley of Spokane and just talked shop and stories, told lies. And matter of fact, at the time he was there, he was contemplating this. Isn't it AIM, his company? And
Yep.
he was contemplating how to do AIM, and he explained to me what he was going to do. And not that I'm good in business, but I'm not bad. And I gave him some insight and said, the last thing everybody tells me is never have partners unless you have to. And we came up with some good ideas from him, and sure enough, a couple months later, he started it, and he
They're doing
calls me
great
now
too.
and then. And yeah, he's an awesome individual. I'm blessed to call him friend.
Well, he certainly is insightful. He provides a lot of his guidance is invaluable. So, and I know his visit up to you was probably quite impressive because he loves to chat with, the real deal and people that are really invested in improvement, and you obviously have all those things. He enjoyed that trip.
Yeah, I've invited him up. Matter of fact, we were thinking of bringing him up here in December to him and Lois, and just come up for a long weekend and just hang out with us and go to some nice places out of town. What's it, Quinn Hot Springs? But I guess we're going to probably do it in January now.
So let me get this straight. You hired Carm to come and do some coaching for your staff, and you put him up at your place, and that's the first time you met him? How does that work?
Well, you just say the bathroom's downstairs, the bed's downstairs. He's just a normal guy, right? I mean, he's the guru of the tech world for the fasteners. But
that's true.
Yeah, after talking to him, I most everybody that comes and visits me, if you're a rep, you come out of town, I'll invite you to stay at my house. It's more than business, right? I mean, in business, if it's all about numbers or dollars, I don't make it because I didn't have any. But what I did have is I had compassion for people, and if you really want to get to know somebody, have them stay with you, and you find out who they are, and who they find out who you are. And we live a pretty simple life. Got a bigger house now, and 2 bedrooms downstairs. And it's like most people say when you come to my house, it's like having a bed and breakfast, because we're all upstairs and you're downstairs. We don't even know you're in the house. This is where everything is. Make yourself at home, and that's how I was brought up.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You've explained it to me before. You described that setting, and I just can't help but imagining like a reality show. It's really the way that it's spread out and the view and everything,
and
you
invite
just
them over. You meet people and invite them to stay.
Yeah.
Well, both you guys are invited to stay if you come into town. You're more than welcome. I don't have to make the beds downstairs. It doesn't bother me at all.
Do I?
No, my fiance does.
Oh.
I just have to take her out for nice dinners and get her she has lots of jewelry, lots of shoes, and really nice purses.
She just has to have these random guests that you invite off the street to come stay with you.
Sometimes she looks at me like, do you know this guy? I said, nope, I've heard of him. And I'll talk to him ahead of time, and hopefully we don't invite over a serial killer one time. But it all works out good.
Well, I can totally see how spending some time with Carmen, and you probably got very quickly, a good feeling. And I could see how that one unfolded.
Yeah, so he came in our company, and I have an office outside the warehouse here, and the door's always open. And he sent me a letter later saying that, how in touch I was with the people in the warehouse. Well, for me, I have an open door policy. So if you have an issue, you can come right in. I don't care who you are. If you're the driver, if you're a new person, I'm always open to hear what you got and help you out. He was really impressed with that. It just seemed normal to me.
I would say that's not normal. I think that's great, but I think you're one of the few that probably do that, Tim. And I agree with Carmen. I think that's just a huge reason why the culture at your organization is the way it is.
Yeah, that's, I got that. I started working on that culture about 5 or 6 years ago. I went somewhere. I was at a show, and I think I was at staff then. A guy was selling a book, and I looked it up ahead of time, and I read the book, and it talked about what's coming as far as, and if this is a segue for you, Eric, it's talking about I've been talking about the storm that's coming in 2025, and this was in 2018. I went to this speaker, and what he was talking about is at that time there were 25% millennials in the workforce, 75% baby boomers. And he said in 2025, it'll be 75% baby boomers, 25% millennials. And man, my oh shit meter, sorry for my French, but my oh shit meter just went to the back of the line there and said, oh, we got an issue here. And, I've been trying to tell people forever that we're having issues now trying to find people. And it's because the millennial generation, and I say it, I don't mean it bad. I think millennials are some of the smartest people we've ever had on this earth. But there's 30% of them that are the smartest and 70% of them that I'm not sure how they get up. How do they know to come back to work on Monday morning, right? What drives you to get up in the morning and know to come back to work? There's that much disconnect.
It's a completely different worldview.
Oh, geez. I've probably got 24 people working for me. 15 of them now are millennials, and a handful are I'm not sure how you get back here every Monday morning, and we deal with them. But I think in the future, when I heard somebody talking on your podcast the other day, and he said, we've got people that have been here 25 and 30 years. You are the one we're talking about. You've been spoiled. You've got great employees, baby boomers that have been there 25 and 30 years. When they retire, who are you going to replace them with? And it's, everybody, when we go to these PAC West meetings and we're sitting in the owners meetings and we're talking about what are our issues, every single time we talk about lack of people to hire out there. And Joe said it too. How do I hire somebody with Fastener Industry? They don't have it. They got Google. Now they can Google it, but there's just not a lot of, I don't know. I think there's, right now we're seeing provincial wins coming through, and that is, we can't, 54 job apps, we didn't invite anyone back for a second interview. No one. We didn't invite anybody for the first one. We just got them in, looked at them and said, there's nothing here. We know better than to hire all these people. It's just problem children everywhere.
It's almost like technology is just ruining us, and they've always said, and at our events, they always seem to introduce now a new element of technology. Like at one of the PAC West events, I know we were talking about artificial intelligence, but they always say technology doesn't make us dumber or smarter, and I think it's kind of helped us maybe do more while understanding less about what we're doing. You know what I mean? I think it leaves I think technology, and it's becoming, I don't know. You mentioned, Tim, 2025 and the perfect storm, and I started thinking about it. I'm like, technology is going to really shorten the shelf life of employee skill set. And I have customers and I have manufacturers that I rep for that have both introduced robots.
Robots?
And I don't know how robots.
Really?
Yeah, I don't
For
know.
what job function?
Yeah, and on their line, manufacturing in both capacities, both at my customer, there's a robot, and at our manufacturer, there's a robot.
Really?
And part of it and it's scary because I still go back and forth on technology. Is it making us dumber or smarter? I guess collectively they think it's smarter, but individually I think we know less about what we're doing. But the goal, and it might be because there's just less people to hire, like what you said, Tim. We don't have the pool, and they want to be able to produce lights out. And another element might just be to try and improve productivity, decrease quality issues. I don't know, but it is scary. I think that people are considering there's not going to be anybody to hire, so we're going to move to a more technological
automated system.
Right. I don't know, but I think you're right. There's a concern.
Well, that was one of the driving factors when the company called and asked to buy my building. I won't lie to you. There's part of me that said, hey, it's going to take a lot of capital to do that. They call it artificial general intelligence. And
right.
And it's going to take a lot of capital, and it's going to, if they do introduce it, it's going to make our industry, it's going to turn it upside down, in my opinion, because we're all pretty much the same companies. We all have purchasing agents, we all have outside salespeople, and if you change that platform, that's that you're looking at Google or Amazon or somebody coming in, and even Fastenal, they got a great website.
When did you say this storm is supposed to hit? This guy that Stafta was talking about?
Well, they say in 2025, that's when the numbers change, and you have 25% baby boomers, 75% millennials, because I'm 57 and I'm retiring in 5 years. I mean, I might be around, but I'm not going to be around in the same capacity.
Right. But that storm, that is demographics. That's not technology, right?
Right. That's just a lack of people to hire. We're seeing it now.
And they also say by 2025, I think that we'll have 30% less jobs because of technology.
That's what they say. I was watching the Joe Rogan podcast, and I think he's like me. I'm kind of skeptical of that. My neighbor's got a PhD from MIT, and he studied artificial intelligence 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And we talked about it a couple times, and he says, you're going to go to McDonald's and they're going to have people at the drive-through, and they're not going to have people. They're only going to have a couple people. He said, but for the most part, you still got to have the people, because it's a people selling people business. I don't care what they say. The majority of our business is people selling people. It's all about relationships. And I don't know anybody that's got a relationship with a computer on the phone line. You might use technology, but you're still going to need a wholesale house locally. Amazon cannot supply your company.
So just curious, the millennial that you're training, why did they want to work at your company?
Are you talking about the one I just hired for sales?
Right, because I think that a lot of kids are, okay, I'm a mom, and my kids, I'm preparing for college, and you Google what are the best degrees to get for the future, and none of them are selling fasteners. No. And so I think the predictions, are pushing the kids to go and look for more technical jobs. So I'm curious, the millennial that you grabbed, what was the draw there? And maybe we can all capitalize on that.
Yeah, and Tim, you should totally be able to identify with that, because your son, it was up in the air between, well, do I sell fasteners or get my PhD in physics?
Right.
Which is pretty drastic choice. and he didn't choose fasteners.
Well, he worked for me for 8 years. So in his opinion, he would have done it. It's not very glamorous. It's not like we're selling Nike, right? It's not like we're selling hunting rifles or bats and special sportswear.
No, we get it. That's why Joe asked the question.
Okay, so for him, it wasn't challenging enough. If you're going to try to get your PhD in physics, your brain's working a little bit faster than a quarter 20 hex nut, right? But the guy I just hired,
he's pretty good.
Yeah, the guy I just hired, he was working for someone else, and what this guy said at this show this speech when he was on stage, he said, you got to start taking people from wherever you can get them now. I get a lot of people from Facebook, believe it or not. I'll put an ad out on Facebook. I'm looking for this. And I only take advice now or take people calling me if they know somebody that I know. And he said, try to find somebody you know. And actually, this guy's dad walked in, and he brought this guy with him. He goes, this is my son, and he's working down the street, and he's done this. And he starts giving me a sales pitch And I could tell he's green. I could tell he had the magical X factor, right? He had the want. I said, "Hey, are you looking for a job?" He said, "Well, not really." I said, I'll hire you today if you go out in outside sales with me." And he said, "Sounds good." And that was it. I didn't have to. I could tell within 5 minutes of talking to him, he had that X factor, and that is relationship building. And he could, he was all in when he was talking to me. How long will he be here? I don't know. How well will we pay him? That's truly what it is. I mean, I'm setting him up right now, and I'm giving him advice every day. And he comes in my office. I said, "Where are you going? What are you doing? What are you saying?" I told him yesterday, I said, "Stop listening to people that have only been here 2 years. I've been here 25 years. Everybody you ask in the company, I taught them how to do their job. Come to me and come to the source and let me teach you how to do it the right way the first time and be successful." That's how I got him. And so far, but I still have to, at 7 o'clock, he rolls in at 6:59 and he leaves at 4:01. And they don't think a thing of it. It's time, we're done. I'm like, "Do you want to make $100,000 a year?" He said, "Yes." I said, "I never worked 7 to 4 and made that much money. I worked 10 to 12 hours a day, and I did it for 10 years straight. And then I made big money, and I've never been less than that now, but it's because I out hustle everybody." And these guys think, I asked him one day, he said, "I couldn't do my sales report." I said, "Why?" He says, "I don't have a computer at home." And I just, I tilted my head like that little puppy. Like, "What? You don't have a computer?" I'm 57 years old. I have 4 computers. How do you not have a computer? "I just didn't think I needed one." There's your millennials. There's how in the world can you operate these days without a computer at home? And he said, "I got my phone and I just go to work and use theirs." And it's a different mindset. That's all I can say. And you better start changing your culture now. Your culture in your company better be, what can I do for the employee, not how much can I squeeze for the ownership. That's going to go away. I know everybody thinks I'm nuts, but it's going to go away because you're going to have to focus on keeping people working in your company to be profitable.
Especially the fastener industry.
Yeah.
You have to really,
It's isn't it all about relationships?
I definitely think so. 100%.
So do you have a PhD in physics, Joe?
No.
You probably got a PhD in relationships.
I possibly.
Right.
Yeah.
Life experience equivalent.
Absolutely. That's right. OJT.
Yeah. Well, there's no substitute for that. And there's a lot of that in the fastener industry, as well as Fastener Training Institute curriculum, thanks to Joe, you, your team, and so forth. Well, it's amazing because we have these conversations with people all across the industry, and so many times the thread, no matter where we let it meander, in this case it was pretty open-ended, and it comes back to this thread, that of the impending storm of I guess the future employment question hanging over all these distributors out there in the audience, and then the relationships that sustain the business, and the question, is that really what's going to keep driving it as the years go on? We must be onto something.
I think so. I think it's, the one thing that I see when I go to the PAC West and to the shows, and I'm not saying this is bad, but I call it the old guard. It's the guys that have been around for 50, 60 years, and we've always done it this way, and they're the last ones to get email. They're the last ones to get the technology. And for my company, I had to step aside about 10 years ago and because I was never going to do email. I said, "I'm not doing email. I'm not getting a debit card either, damn it." Well, that went to hell in the handbasket, right? And now I let these young guys who want to do it and are willing to pick up the ball and run with it. They're the ones who are running our company now. They're the ones introducing technology. And I always look at them and say, "No bullshit. Is this going to work or not? Is this sort of kind of maybe, or you're sure this will work?" And so far, they come through every time. We're getting scanners, we're getting iPads, we have probably the best label system in the country, according to Carmen. And that's all because these guys said, "We can do this." My son developed a label system with us that we drew. We hired a graphic artist 5 years ago, and he's drawn every picture of our fasteners. And they're as good as anybody's label in the industry. And it separates us from everybody else now. And that's because these new guys, if you let them work and you let them go, they'll take us to new levels, new places. They're not afraid of technology like we are.
Tim, have you ever heard that there's now something called Apple Pay?
What is it called? Apple Tag?
Apple Pay. You don't even need your debit card anymore.
Oh, stop it. I still have cash in I had the ownership that bought this place. We had a $20 bet with his son. He came in and he lost. He goes, I don't have any cash on me. I just looked at him, turned my head like a little puppy again. You don't have cash? No, I just have debit cards. How in the hell do you go through life without any cash? Do you have money in your wallet, Eric?
Yeah, I know what you mean. The point's taken. Here's a good one for you. I was at an MWFA event. This is going back probably 4 or 5 years now, to show how behind the times you are, Tim. So Nancy Rich is walking around. She's getting raffle money for whatever it was, right? And this is the holiday party, and so there's like 8 guys or 10 guys sitting around a table. These are all guys who are, most of them are like owners of like $10-15 million companies. And she goes, everybody, a wallet's on the table right now. So everybody throws their wallet on, and she opened the wallets up. No lie, she got like a total of $6.
What?
Yeah, like nobody was carrying cash is the point.
No, They had it hidden. They had a couple hundreds folded and hidden so their wife couldn't steal it for kids. I know that trick.
I think they're all paying with plastic.
Yeah, there's no doubt. But
which Joe's point is, what's going on now is people have their payment plan like embedded in their retina.
Yep. Just put your hand in front of something and you're done.
How crazy is this? That if you remember back when we were in elementary school, someone said, "You'll see the year 2000," and I remember thinking to myself, "Oh, I'll be dead by then." I was in the 4th grade. You'll be 50 or something years old. I'm like, really? And now it's just, someone asked me the other day, how did you get information from one company to the other when you first started, Tim? I said, we had a yellow sheet of tablet and we wrote everything down. He said, did you email it? We didn't have computers. He goes, what do you mean you didn't have computers? We got a thing called the fax, and it was like, that was the Jetsons, right? We've got a fax machine. We can actually put it in here and it'll come out over there in the same.
The fax, I remember when that came out, that was difficult for me to understand. I'm like, a fax machine? But it makes you wonder then, in 2025, what's it going to be looking like? What will our industry look like then?
Well,
because I remember back in the days where, all the inventory was on index cards, the dot print matrix, invoices.
Yeah. It was the big lie was, hey, when we get into computer systems, you won't have any more paper. You'll never have to copy anything.
I remember in the late 90s going to a Gartner Group conference, and it was on paperless and the digital documentation and all that. And the keynote speaker started his address by saying, the paperless office is about as likely as the paperless outhouse. For the same reason, there's always going to be a lot of shit you got to put on paper.
That's a good one. No doubt. No doubt. I have above my office here about 40 boxes of invoices and pick slips. And even though we're, quote unquote, we're paperless, it's all we have is paper. Everybody has paper. It's just not worked out for us. Even in the scanning guns, we're always running around saying they're too small, they can't read it, so they'll print it.
Right. Well, really, the whole idea of dwelling on if there's paper or not misses the point. The productivity is there. You can't even compare. It's not even worth having the conversation. But the point is that things are changing. Technologies come, and we've seen a lot of them in our lifetimes. And, to give you yet another idea about what a different mindset, what a different world it is, a young guy that I know of, he's about 16. He's not a dummy. He came home from school recently, and it turns out he doesn't know how to read a clock. Yeah, he knows digital. That's it, and that's just the mindset. So a rotary phone, that would be a foreign object. It's just a different world. Thus, the storm, and I guess we're going to have to see how we all weather the storm.
Yeah, my recommendation is change the cultures in your company. Make sure you're looking out for the future of your employees.
So change them to include what? To be more...
Well, we talked about it earlier, you and I, on a private phone call, that flex hours. You got this group of people called parents that have kids in school. They got to get them to school at 8. They pick them up at 2. Those people are amazing workers. I've hired a bunch of them, and they'll come in at 9 and they leave at 1:50, and they do twice the work as anyone else because they want a shot at working and to take care of their family. I think people are going to be able to, when we have people here, when you're home, when you're off sick, We have you can log in VPN and start doing business just like you're at your desk. And when the ownership talked to me the first time, they said, "Why do you allow that?" I said, "I don't care if he's 25 feet in an office or he's 2 miles at his home. If he's on the computer and he's doing the work he's supposed to be doing, why do I care where he's at? As long as he's productive. It's better than him being sick for a whole day and we get nothing out of it, and we're behind 2 days."
Plus, at least when he comes back to work, he's going to have clean laundry.
And he's all caught up in his video games. I go check them to see. I have my buddies check to see if they're playing video games.
While they're at work?
No, when they're at home.
Logged in. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had the instance where I've showed up at the doorstep with some Campbell's soup and some crackers and some bananas. How you doing? Not bad. What are you here for, Tim? No, just come to give you a goodie box, man. See how you're doing. I caught one guy leaving his house with his golf clubs.
Oh, no.
How's it going? Not bad. How you doing? I'm feeling better. I said, I could tell.
You know what? You can never hide it, though. You're either going to be productive or you're not. You either got it in or you don't. And I'm grateful. I'm so grateful that I can do somewhat flexible. But I work every weekend. I work every night because that's just. There's no way you can't hide. You can't fake productivity. You just can't. You're either going to produce or you're not, and you can't fake it. So just do the job.
Not in the long run. The short run, you can play games and kind of get away with it, but in the long run, it catches up with you.
It catches up with you. Don't even try it. That's my guidance.
Do you work at home ever, Eric?
I have been known to. I've been known to get a lot of laundry done while working also.
Sure. So that was my point. Just cultures better change. They need to change, at least for us to have.
See, I don't ever get laundry done at home. My husband is always asking me, "Why didn't you get the laundry done?" I'm like, there is no time. So you've impressed me.
With triplets, honey, you're lucky to be alive.
Yeah, you're Action Joe. Yo, you know what? I'm just looking up here. I forgot to play this earlier. I was thinking about this when you were talking about going into commando mode with your employee who was sneaking out to play golf, and you slipped into commando mode, and in the background, what it was they're playing? Yeah. Remember this?
That is so wrong in so many ways.
The Mego action figure, Tim Action Jackson.
You should have that, Tim, as your hold music or.
That's you're not on the list no more, buddy. Now you got to get a hotel when you're in town.
No more bed and breakfast.
Those were the days. Well, that just means I'm going to have to try to do this again with you sometime and get you back in my team. But I think I'm still good.
Oh, you're good, brother.
You still saved him all that money for scrubbing his numbers, so I think that you're still golden.
There you go, Joe. Always counting
Trust
on
me,
you.
You're golden. Yeah, anybody out there that's doing computer numbers and they need them scrubbed, you got to use these guys. They're out of this world good and quick.
Yeah, it's an 1 hour and 5-minute commercial for the FCH scrubber. I love it. We're really soft sell, but this is the softest ever. And, I'm glad that it was with you, Tim, and you, Joe Morris, on, I guess, what we're calling now Unthreaded.
I'm glad to be a part of it. I thought it was fun. I didn't have nearly as insightful comments as you, Tim. I think it was interesting.
Well, I was happy right up to the Action Jackson song. Now I can't stop thinking about it.
Well, at least you didn't ask me to cut it out.
We're not done yet.
No,
we'll
don't
talk
cut it out.
afterwards.
I like it.
Right on. And Joe, thank you for not saying okay too much. That was refreshing. But next time we're going to get Brian on. Speaking of scrubbing data, Tim, he's busy at work with like a 50,000 line project at the moment, but he'll be with us next time for an Unthreaded. And until then, I'm going to say thanks to you two once again, and we're going to do it again.
Awesome.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Tim Jackson from Action Fastener, Joe Morris from the Fastener Training Institute and Desert Distribution. It's Fully Threaded, everyone. Catch you in a minute.
ND Industries has been solving customers' toughest problems through innovative technologies, competitive pricing, and industry-leading service since 1955. A family-owned business, ND Industries manufactures and applies fastener locking, bonding, sealing, masking, and assembling products. Their pre-application process makes fasteners ready to use at the point of assembly, resulting in reduced labor costs, time savings, and superior quality assurance. As a fully integrated company, ND handles all aspects of operations, from formulating custom chemical compounds and coating fasteners to providing inline inspection, packaging, and delivery services. ND Industry serves the global market with 13 divisions in the continental U.S. and also facilities in Taiwan, China, and Turkey. Learn more about ND Industries at our website at www.ndindustries.com. ND Industries, innovative technologies, competitive pricing, and industry-leading service. Contact ND today.
First, there was fire, and man said, "Fire, good." Then there was the wheel, and man said, "Wheel, good." With the invention of the wheel came the need for fasteners, and man loudly exclaimed, "Buckeye, good." Buckeye Fasteners, providing quality products since the dawn of man. The preceding message was brought to you by Buckeye Fasteners and the Ohio Nut and Bolt Company, proud Fastener Show sponsors of Old Rusty Bolt Beer, official beer of the Traveling Salesman.
Tell them Grog sent you. Ugh.
I need quarter 20x2 zinc-plated socket head cap screws ASAP. My customer has a line down and needs Saturday delivery. Help!
Solution Man can. I have over $1 million in zinc-plated sockets in stock, and I'll gladly drop ship directly to your customer on Saturdays. Visit the Solution Industries website for details at solutionind.com.
Is there anything you can't do, Solution Man?
When it comes to fasteners, nothing I can think of, ma'am. I'm not too good at bowling, though.
SOLUTION, Solution Industries. We are Solution.
This is Bryn Stock from Spencer Products, your source for threaded inserts, blind rivets, and huck bolts. You're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric back with you, rethreading the podcast. What you think about that unthreaded concept, Brian? Can you go with that?
Yeah, well, some would say that's sort of quite often what we meander off into, okay?
Well, that's true. I was just trying to keep it a little bit more open and just let it be a little more, I don't know, people say real, man. But we'll see how these work, and next time we'll get you in there. You won't be so loaded, hopefully, then with all these uploads plus the touch of screwbola.
Right.
But, I was thinking back, changing the subject to Mike McNulty's top news today about the Bufab and ABS deal and how unusual it is that we actually get the details of the transaction. So ABS wound up with $30 million cash and then $30 million in a few years. Sounds like a pretty darn good deal to me.
To me too.
So I asked Mike how he got that information because we usually don't hear about it. That specifically, and he said that it was because Bufab is a publicly traded company, therefore those details were provided.
Interesting. Okay. So then I hope Tim Jackson, after all the work and sweat he put into his Action Fasteners, that he did okay out of that deal too.
Yes. Somehow I think that was probably a little bit richer than his deal. However, I think that he probably did pretty well himself.
Yeah, well, he deserves it. He worked hard.
He certainly did. And he continues to. You can really tell he's still got the eye of the tiger.
Right.
And it was good of him to join us on the podcast today. I hope he will do so in the future. But thank you, Tim Jackson, for your appearance on our Unthreaded segment, along with Joe Morris from Desert Distribution. And y'all know her as the voice of the Fastener Training Institute. Also on the podcast today, we welcomed Danielle Riggs from Würth, and NFDA President Doug Ruggles sat in with Mike McNulty with FDI coverage. And as always, Carmen Vertullo had the Fastener Training Minute for us. We're very glad and proud to have such a full line of sponsors of the podcast. The title sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio are Stellfast. For service you deserve and people you trust, it's Stellfast. And Brighton Best International. Tested, tried, true. Brighton Best. Fully Threaded Radio is also sponsored by Buckeye Fasteners, BTM Manufacturing, Eurolink Fastener Supply Service, Fastener Fair USA, Fastener Technology International, InSequel Software, Indie Industries, Parker Fasteners, The Würth Group, Würth Industrial Plastics, and Solution Industries, home of Muskie Ketchin Solution Man.
Right.
Please let us know what you think of the podcast, everybody. The email address is ftr@fullythreaded.com. The Twitter handle is fullythreaded. One sad piece of news that hit the fastener industry since our last broadcast, Bri, is the passing of Joe Greenslade.
Right. I saw that in numerous places. I remember particularly us interviewing him, actually.
Yeah, he did make 2 appearances on the podcast. He was a huge figure in the industry, and we will be discussing some of his contributions along with Carmen Vertullo in a future episode. I did get word from Carmen. He attended a memorial service for Joe down in Texas, and people had been asking how old of a guy was Joe. He was 73, and his passing was fairly unexpected. It's a loss to the industry, and we'll be talking more about Joe Greenslade down the road.
Yes, and he made a really big contribution to the standardization of fasteners in the USA.
That's right, among many others. Well, you and he won't be able to have that big ISO showdown
right.
you always threaten to have.
No, the conversation I wanted to have with Joe, remember we discussed setting up one of our podcasts for me to ask him how he could possibly defend supporting the ASME standards about materials and all their many, many complications versus the simplicity of the metric or the ISO standards of materials. I'd love to have had that one. We decided it was being a little too complicated.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're not alone in that regret.
You will not be forgotten, Joe.
Amen. Well, everybody, in the interests of Brian's screwbola voice, among other things, we're going to wind this episode up. We hope in the meantime, until our next podcast episode, we see you online at the FCH Sourcing Network.
Right. And you know how to get there. You just screwgle it, okay?
For Brian Musker, this is Eric Dudas. Get out there, sell some screws, just screwgle it, everybody, and we'll talk to you next time.
Fully Threaded Radio is a production of Fastener's Clearinghouse. Music provided by Audionautics.
Good. Okay.
And also, one other thing I'd like to pass on to whomever might be listening is training is an investment. It is not an expenditure. My experience in 40 years in the fastener business is that one seemingly small error on the part of someone entering an order or doing an inspection can cost way more than what a full week of training for an individual can be. So I'm thrilled that we've got programs to offer, but I'm constantly amazed at how few people take advantage of this because it's, as I say, it's truly an investment and not an expenditure.
That is a great point.
Very well said, Joe.
Joe Greenslade, John Walkman, thank you once again for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay warm, folks. We'll help you during the closing segment. It's Fully Threaded.